I'd like to call this meeting, the Nicholas County Board of Education to order. I was almost late. Battery, truck wouldn't start, so anyway, Mr. Green bailed me out. If you would, please stand and join us for a moment of silent reflection. Thank you. At this time, I'd like for you to join us for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first thing on the agenda this evening is to approve the minutes of the meetings held on November 28th, 2022.
President, I move we approve the November 28, 2022 meeting.
Have a motion to approve the minutes by Dr. Penix,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Berry. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next, we have recognition. Julia Duffield, principal of Mount Lookout Elementary, was nominated and won the Madge McDonald Award given by the West Virginia Reading Association.
It is my distinct honor and privilege to inform you that this year at the West Virginia Reading Association's annual fall conference, we have one of our principals that was selected for the Madge McDaniel Leadership Award, and it is named after Madge McDaniel, who was a leader in her school and district with moving reading education forward. And she went on to become the first president of the West Virginia Reading Association many years ago. She has since passed. But to recognize her, they started an award in her honor. And this year's recipient for the statewide award was Principal Duffield, who exemplifies the tenets that Madge brought to education with her contributions to reading education, just like Julia. So.
I think we can get our pictures taken. Can the board come down? Come on, pictures taken. Already said so. Oh, come on. We're proud to be here with you.
It's in your contract.
It's in your contract, that's right.
Other duties as assigned.
That's right.
Yes. All right, we're going to have to stretch just a little bit.
I'm in the middle, I can't stretch.
Okay, you ready? 1, 2, 3. I'll take a couple. Okay.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Okay, number 5, discussion A, presentation from the Dinsmore and Shoal Law Firm.
Okay, if we
Yes, sir.
come over here.
Could you fix that microphone so we can hear, please? Thank you.
Does that work?
I hope it's on.
Usually when I stand behind a microphone, I need a step stool as well to stand on, so I think it's on the very bottom. Almost there.
Me, battery, check. Sorry, I don't have an iPhone, but he's gonna get one.
Just speak up.
Well, speak up, Jay. I see your agenda. You've got a lot going on this evening. I'm Jason Long. With me tonight is Jacob Manning and Mary Catherine Tuckwiller. And we were given the opportunity to come present to the board and indicate what it is that we do for school systems. And if in the future, the Board of Education would like to utilize our services, that's an option. I didn't want to say no to the opportunity. I take any opportunity I can in front of school boards. But we provide legal services to school systems throughout the state, maybe 21, 22 school systems. The fortunate thing about myself and Mary Catherine, we're next door in Greenbrier County. But today, for example, I spent the day in Boone County, drove from Boone County to here this evening, and throughout the day, I may have had contact, I think, with Mercer County. Who else would have I spoken with today? I usually keep track of it. Lewis County, Pendleton County, a number of counties that we provide services to. It's what we love to do. It's what we do. I came out of undergrad thinking I was going to be a school teacher. You don't hear that very often anymore, right? But when you do, it does bring a smile to your face. I wish we heard more of that of students wanting to become school teachers. But when I came out of law school, there weren't too many classroom teaching positions. I was Social Studies 512, and if you were Social Studies 512 or PE, there weren't very many options, so I decided to go to law school. So when I started doing this 20 years ago, and I always say this, and I don't get a laugh out of Jacob anymore, I was probably 6'2", 190 pounds, and now this is what's happened to me. Mary Catherine joined the firm a number of years ago, and I'll let her describe, her role. At a certain point, she left and she became counsel to the State Board of Education, if I'm not mistaken, and then thereafter transitioned over to the Department of Education. And a year and a half or 2 years ago, I was fortunate enough whereby Mary Catherine came back and relocated back to Greenbrier County. We're a firm that has offices in several places throughout the country, but in West Virginia, we've got Wheeling, we've got Charleston, we've got Morgantown, we have Huntington, and we have Lewisburg, which really makes a key benefit from a financial standpoint. We like to be able to service our school systems in a way that's thorough and efficient. It's taxpayer dollars. The last thing that I do like to see is to see, my school systems get a FOIA request of the legal fees, because we know it can be expensive. It's a big business. I don't think people recognize this. Your all's budget, for example, in millions and millions of dollars, right? You're one of the largest, if not maybe the largest employer in Nicholas County, for example. People lose sight of this scenario. So there is a need often for legal services. I look at your agenda tonight. I see on there some discussion on the pilot project. We've been on both ends of pilot projects, whether that's for a county commission or a new pilot project, for example, in Doddridge County. We'd be a part of assisting the school system, looking to see, well, what percentage does county's commission get and what percentage does the school system get. Those types of services. But I don't want to belabor, anything further other than what I typically do is my bailiwick is a lot of personnel. I do a lot of personnel law. And, oftentimes employees find themselves in situations, or we're going through RIF and transfer season, making sure we do that process correctly. That's a lot of what I do, personnel and student discipline. I want to give Jacob and Mary Catherine an opportunity to kind of quickly discuss what it is that they do. And one of the individuals that's not with us tonight is Denise Spadafor. She's a part of our group as well. Denise has been with us for about 12 years. Before that, she was an administrative law judge at the Grievance Board for 12 years. And then after that, I think she was personnel director in Harrison County for a couple of years. So we're a group with a lot of knowledge and expertise. I service your neighbors in Greenbrier, Fayette,
We were in the car a long time.
Clay, yeah. And then, a lot of folks think Pocahontas County does touch Nicholas, but it doesn't. We service Pocahontas County. That's kind of where I'm originally from and grew up in Pocahontas County and with an education family. So in the surrounding area, those are some folks that we service. And Jacob, I'm going to let you kind of tell these folks kind of what your bailiwick is so they can continue with their meeting.
Sure. So I work out of our Wheeling office. I handle a lot of things that aren't personnel. So contracts, policies, student discipline, special education, Title IX, all of those kinds of things. Today, for example, I was addressing an easement issue, a construction contract issue, and a student discipline issue. So runs the gamut of what we can do, but I handle, like I said, most of the time when it's not personnel, is when I get involved.
Yeah. And use Jake as an example. Last week, Randolph County Board of Education asked us to come over and do a workshop with their board. They have, I think it was 2 or 3 new board members. They just kind of want to get an understanding of Personnel Season 101. What was it going to look like? You know, what do you mean by RIF and transfer? How do we respond to folks who approach us? Because again, they're new to it. And even though there's opportunities at meetings through their associations, sometimes that board doesn't feel comfortable with others, maybe asking a little bit smaller group session when it's just us. So that's just an example of a service we provide, is that is we like to go and give workshops with boards or employees. I know we've got a couple of workshops coming up, and on the same day, 2 different school systems asked us to come and do a presentation on 4373, the student code of conduct. You know, you're starting to see more and more student disciplinary issues. And in one of those counties, I said, yeah, and make sure you invite the boards. I think board members need to understand, how did it get to the point to where it led to you? What is your all's involvement? What happened before? But again, another example of some services we provide. Mary Catherine?
I'm Mary Catherine Tuckwiller. Like Jason said, I rejoined Dinsmore about 1.5 years ago. And much like Jason, I started my career teaching. I taught kindergarten for 1 year and 8th grade English for 3 years. So one of the things I like to say is I know what it's like to be in the classroom. And so I work with school systems and administrators in evaluating and supporting teachers to try to keep them in the classroom, because we know that we're short on teachers, and if someone enters the profession, we want to keep them there. So focused support plans, helping them rebuild their skills, looking for opportunities to find ways for an improvement plan, structuring those with actual academic terms. That's one of the things I do. And then having been at the Department of Education, I work firsthand with the teacher licensure cases. So if a county has to discipline a teacher, I know or have a good idea what they will do in Charleston to that teacher's license and can give guidance to the school system. Is this someone we should terminate? Do we think that this person is going to be allowed to teach anymore? And I also support a lot of special education issues. We're pretty full service in that regard.
Full service, whether it's, you know, excess levy time, counties that run their bonds, you know, working through that process. I don't know anything that we don't provide. And again, we always look for opportunities if school systems are needing some additional services. If existing counties have conflicts, we like to be, then okay, well, let's call, you know, Dinsmore and Shaw to provide a service that may not be available. And again, I think we do it in a professional, respectful manner. We find ourselves in tough situations sometimes with employees. That doesn't mean that you have to be, we treat all employees professionally. In every matter that we handle, we treat absolutely professionally. You know, it's easy to say we deal with it and we can lead the community, but you all have to live with these folks, right? You treat folks respectfully and professionally, and that's an expectation that we have as well. Again, I know you've got a full agenda. If you all have any questions of us, we welcome those. But again, I recognize you're looking forward to moving on to your agenda, I believe.
Anybody have some questions?
To contact you, what do we do? Just call your office?
Right, so, you know, in our bailiwick, you know, typically our contact is through the superintendent. You know, often the superintendent's the one who will contact, give information, ask any questions, things of that nature. Or, you know, there are occasions where a board president may reach out on a specific item. But yes, you can contact us via the email or cell phone number, whatever it may be. I always like to say truly the easiest way to reach us is via cell phone.
Well, what do you charge?
So So, right, I think we do it in a thorough and an efficient manner. You know, often what we say maybe shocks individuals, but, you know, we are $300 an hour. We're $300 across the board, and by that I mean regardless of your age, and I feel like we're all generally about the same age. And Denise, I'm gonna say, is a little bit older since she's not here tonight, but that's what it is in terms of that. There are special occasions where it may be a different increase. By special occasion, I may say immigration. There are some immigration issues that pop up in school systems, and we have someone in one of our offices oversees our immigration practice group. When that comes up, there's a little bit more of a cost of that, but that's pretty rare, you know, but, you know, your bonds, and I don't think you're in that realm, those come at a difference. But at the end of the day, the day-to-day questions, the appearances for grievances, which again, from this county, it appears to be extremely rare in terms of that, but $300 an hour for your standard, typical, day-to-day work questions, things of that nature.
So if we would need your services, Dr. Tetrick or myself would be the ones that would contact one of you. Is that correct?
Right, I mean, that would be, you know, the next step that the board would have to do is there have to be an action item to utilize our services. And one thing I always say is, you know, school systems can utilize as many or as few as they want. And if you don't get locked in, you have to execute an engagement letter. But that doesn't mean you're beholden just to Dentor and Shoal, for example. There's that opportunity to use this if you'd like to. If you don't. But yes, I mean, contact in terms of questions, things of that nature is usually filtered through superintendent. If it's someone else during the school system asking those questions, I always like to say, you have approval of the superintendent, of course, to call and ask the special ed question or wherever the case may be. And as time moves on, you start to understand who those folks are that will reach out for those questions. Maybe a principal calls at the last minute and says, listen, we've had this situation with a student, you know, how do we handle this particular student? What are our options? What do we do from a student disciplinary standpoint? And typically, they obviously have approval from the central office. And then as it relates to the board president, you get a call on an agenda item, or they need to be present, or something to that effect.
We've actually used your law firm in the past.
Yeah, it's been.
So it's,
Mhm.
so, you know, I'm not,
And that was an example, I think, where there was a conflict.
There was a conflict.
Insisted on it, right.
since that time, we have in-house counsels. That's why you have such a low grievance rate here.
It's
We're
very
so
loud.
fortunate, and those counties that are able to have in-house are particularly.
I can look at it in the county's agenda and see, and you got a good agenda, I can use that as a template and example from a personnel standpoint, especially when you do the amendments. You don't have any level fours for a couple of years, so right, you never hear anything from a personnel standpoint coming out of this county. So that's speaks volumes of where you're at in that aspect.
Do you have experience with FEMA-sponsored programs?
I don't, do you have any with FEMA? You're our contract guy, you're our school construction guru and all of the bidding related issues, but that's not my bailiwick.
That's it.
Again, that's Jacob's bailiwick in terms of school construction issues when they either are good or sometimes unfortunately, if there is a situation or scenario from the contractor. So, but
I mean, on the contract and bidding side, yes. On the dealing with FEMA itself, probably more limited on that. But I think we certainly do within the firm as well, too.
we recognize the unique situation you all are in at this point, right? From your school facility standpoint. That's a situation you find yourselves in. That's probably why some folks are in attendance tonight. Those are tough decisions you are having to make and will continue to have to make.
Any other questions?
We appreciate the opportunity.
We thank you for your input. Thank you very much. Be safe.
Thank you.
Okay, item 5B, presentation, Nicholas County Commission, Craig Chapman and Garrett Cole, along with Eric
Eric Miarka.
Okay, Miarka of Savion Solar Company about the pilot payment in lieu of taxes program, requesting immediate consideration of action item C.
Perfect, thank you very much.
It's action.
Yeah.
item C is for action item C.
Good evening. I'm back. Some of the questions you had last time, this man can answer. So we're here, I told you we were gonna move forward this the first of the year, so that's why we need everything in place as soon as possible so we can move forward. So if you'd like to ask Eric questions, fill in some of the gaps I left with you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chapman. And I do have a package that I gave you all, so if you would like, I can just run through, I think what would be a little bit of a helpful overview of Savion, of the Nicholas County Solar Project, and then the pilot specifically. And if you have any questions, please just interrupt me along the way. Hopefully we can get all of your questions answered and concerns addressed. But in the package that I gave you before the meeting started, you'll see a number of just general corporate flyers, information about solar, who we are, what we do. You'll also see a flyer on the Nicholas County Solar Project specifically. I do have some extras that I'll leave behind for anyone else that's interested. And then you see a couple project maps there. There's also a draft of the pilot agreement in your package. So that's what is going to be presented in final form at the commission meeting on Wednesday, and that's what we hope to have adopted on approved. But let me back up. My name is Eric Miarka. I'm a director of development with Savion, and I appreciate you all having me here this evening to tell you more about our project. I live in North Carolina, but I head up our development efforts for the Southeast region, which West Virginia is included in our Southeast region. So Savion is actually a wholly owned subsidiary of Shell Oil. Shell is an energy company, and we are their renewable energy developer for North America. So we handle all of their renewable energy development onshore. Of course, they have an offshore wind business too. So the company's based out of Kansas City, Missouri. We develop utility scale solar projects and battery energy storage projects. The two are hand in hand at this point, all over the U.S. We're currently developing in over 38 states. I think that the primary focus, I like to think, is for us is the Mid-Atlantic and Southeast. That's where we have the most activity in terms of developments. And one of the big reasons for that, and I think what makes West Virginia so appealing, you all are going to be hearing a lot more about these projects in the coming years, is because of this organization that no one's ever heard of outside the energy industry. It's called PJM. And that doesn't even stand for anything. It stands for Pennsylvania, Maryland, New Jersey. But it's the electric wholesale grid that all of the First Energies, AEPs, MonPower, they all are part of this PJM network. It's basically the wholesale system, the wholesale grid system for energy. And that stretches from New Jersey all the way over to Chicago, down through parts of Kentucky, West Virginia, Virginia, to parts of coastal North Carolina. And that's called an RTO, a regional transmission operator. There's a lot of industry jargon, so I apologize for that. But that allows anyone who's plugged into those transmission lines to exchange electricity with any other, what we call an off-taker, an energy buyer, anywhere in that system. So think about your Facebooks, your Amazons, your Toyotas, all of those customers that have renewable energy goals. They can contract with us through a virtual power purchase agreement to buy the power. Now, in reality, the energy that we're generating from a project here is going to go onto the grid. It's kind of like water into a pipe. We can't tell those water molecules where to go. They're going to go wherever someone opens a faucet. But we have these virtual power purchase agreements that it acts like a hedge so that these commercial customers can buy the renewable energy that's being generated from the system. We also sell the power directly to utilities in a lot of cases. AEP and First Energy have both in the last year procured 200 megawatts of renewable energy in West Virginia alone. First Energy is doing most of that in-house. AEP is buying it from developers like us. So the point there is that this is a rapidly growing industry across the country, and especially here in West Virginia, there's a lot of opportunity. So Savion, as I mentioned, we develop, own, and operate, build solar projects all over the country. What's unique about Savion is that we have an initiative called Coal to Solar. And that is an opportunity for us to develop more large-scale projects in Appalachia. Obviously, when we're building these large solar farms, we have to have relatively flat land, something that is few and far between in Appalachia. Floodplains don't work very well for us, so what we've found is that these old retired coal mines, surface mines, actually present an opportunity for us to site a utility scale solar project on top of those old mines. In a lot of cases, there was some pretty robust transmission infrastructure that serviced those mines that's still in place that allows us to connect into the grid and inject that electricity. So for us, from an engineering standpoint, from access to transmission lines, it's a good opportunity. And for the communities where we're siting these projects, it's a good opportunity for us to bring back some economic investment to these counties, bring new jobs in a new expanding industry, and also to increase tax revenues to an area that otherwise would probably not be developed, in a more traditional development sense. So we do have multiple coal to solar projects throughout the Appalachian region. The one that's going to be, I'd say, our flagship project, the one that's going to be built first, is in Martin County, Kentucky. And that's going to be under construction August of next year. We anticipate breaking ground on that one. And when it's fully constructed, it'll be approximately 200 megawatts. And it will be the largest coal to solar project in Appalachia, maybe the whole country. I haven't been able to verify that yet, but certainly in the Appalachian region. I'm sorry? Until yours, yeah, that's the segue. So the Nicholas County Solar Project, and that's what we're calling it, Nicholas County Solar Project, we couldn't come up with a more original name than that, is 250 megawatts. So when we're talking about megawatts, this was actually something we discussed before the meeting. Think about it like a light bulb. When I say 250 megawatts, that's the nameplate capacity of the facility. A 60-watt light bulb. The capacity of that light bulb is 60 watts. If you leave that light bulb on for an hour, you've used up 60 watt hours. 60 watts of burn for 1 hour. So when we talk about 250 megawatts, that's the nameplate capacity of the facility. It's going to generate electricity all year, several hours a day, all year. It's going to generate multiple megawatt hours, but the pilot is based on the nameplate capacity, and that's typical whether it's a gas plant, a coal-fired power plant, or a solar plant. The 250 megawatts, to put that in perspective, is enough to power approximately 18,000 West Virginia homes. So it's a major investment, and it's a major amount of electricity that's going to be injected into the grid.
So the 625 per megawatt would be based on approximately 250 megawatts per year.
It's just 250 flat. That's the amount of megawatts. The amount of megawatt hours that we generate is going to be a lot more than that. It's going to be, there's 8,760 hours in a year. Solar will typically generate, let's just say, 30% of the time, sunny days, daylight hours, that sort of thing. So if you multiply 250 megawatts times a couple thousand, that's how many megawatt hours we can anticipate producing each year. But the pilot that you're looking at, that's based on the nameplate capacity. So it's however many megawatts we install, our goal is 250 megawatts. It's going to be that number of megawatts times $625 every year. So if we build the full 250 megawatts, I'll jump down and get to the bottom line here, $156,250 per year. The pilot over the life of the project, or over the life of the pilot, is 30 years. That amounts to $4.7 million under all the aggregate of all those annual pilot payments. And I'll get more into that split in just a second. But the Nicholas County Solar Project, up to 250 megawatts. We are still in the development process. We are still doing our engineering studies, our surveys, environmental reviews to determine exactly how much of this we can build on. These coal sites come with a lot of challenges. They're a good opportunity, but they're also very challenging from an engineering perspective. There is currently mining going under a lot of this area, which leads to surface subsidence and settlement. We have to deal with those issues. This is about 3,200 acres that we currently have under lease on the old A.T. Massey property, just outside of Gilboa, near the Alpha Jerry Fork mine. This is the FOLA property up here for reference. So that's not included in this project area. It is this, what you see in the orange line. That's about 3,200 acres. We are not going to use all of that land for the solar project. For 250 megawatts, you really only need about 2,000 acres. But until we determine exactly what areas we can build on, what areas are still settling, we can't build on that. We don't know exactly how big we can build the project. Our goal is to build every megawatt of 250. Anything that we fall short of 250 is just money that we left on the table. So,
Eric,
Yes, sir.
in the chart A, attachment A, you show that we begin to receive that 625 W micro for the capacity.
yes, sir.
And that starts in year 2.
Yeah.
When do you anticipate that this project will get underway? So it takes some construction time.
It does, yes, sir, yeah. So we anticipate the 250 megawatts being broken into 2 phases for a number of different reasons. The first phase, which would be about for half that capacity, somewhere between 100 and 150 megawatts, is going to start construction in 2024, is what we anticipate, and be commercially operational in 2025. The second phase for the remainder, whatever's left over between what we build in phase 1 and 250 megawatts, is going to be built about a year later. A lot of that depends on when we are able to contract to sell the power. That's something that's we're still working on, and supply chain. I know everyone's tired of hearing about supply chain issues, but our industry, unfortunately, is still largely dependent on overseas manufacturing, and we're very affected by supply chain issues. So that's largely what's going to dictate our construction schedule at this point. In the meantime, we do have a lot of development work still to do. We've been working on this project for about 18 months. We've made great progress. The State Public Service Commission just granted us our permit for the project. Every utility project has to go through that siting permit with the state PSC. That's been accomplished, but we still have to go through a lot of the title curative work. We're working obviously on the engineering to address how much settlement we're looking at here and how we can engineer around that. And then of course we're working with the state and federal environmental agencies to make sure that we're not having any impact on threatened endangered species or water resources. And DEP, I will also say DEP has been great to work with. They're very excited about the prospect of repurposing these former mine lands into something that can, once again produce revenue for the community. So pivoting to the pilot specifically, a pilot is very typical. In some states they call them FELOs, fee in lieu of taxes. In West Virginia it's called a pilot. That is very typical for any sort of major infrastructure project, whether it's a typical gas plant or a wind farm or a solar farm. And what that does is that allows us to basically set up a payment in lieu of taxes that is paid directly to the county each year for the 30-year term of the pilot. These solar projects are anticipated to operate for about 40 years. That's the operational life of the project. So after the pilot expires at year 30, we're going to be subject to regular tax rates again. So 30 years is what we agreed to with the commission, and that's what you'll see in the pilot agreement in front of you today.
And that's, the pilot's based on basically what you think of as personal property. The real estate taxes are a whole different thing. They're still in place.
Yeah.
And they're somewhere wide, I gave you guys a figure close to $40,000.
Yeah, good point. Thank you for clarifying that, because this only covers the tangible personal property, the solar panels, the racking, everything that we're putting on top of the property. The land will continue to be assessed and taxed at, whatever the real estate is assessed and taxed at, and that will be split. Per state law, that enables this pilot program, the pilot payments have to be split on a pro rata share between the county and the Board of Education. So as I understand it, based on the current levy rates, the school board is getting about 70%, I think 74% of the tax revenues. So of that $156,250 per year, 74% of that is going to go to the Board of Education. The remaining 26% is going to stay with the county.
Eric, before you go on, that rate, that split is set by the state legislature. It's not set by the commission, it's not set by the Board of Education. That's set by the legislature, and that, we have nothing to do with it. I mean, I'm sorry we're getting more, but that's the state legislature that says we're getting more, so.
That's right. It has, in order for it to be approved, the school board has to be quote unquote made whole. Whatever your pro rata share is under a typical millage or a typical levy rate, that's what your portion of the pilot payment is going to be. So I said it was $4.7 million to the county in total over the 30-year life of the pilot. That doesn't include the underlying real estate. That doesn't include the years 31 through 40 when the pilot expires and those tax rates are going to go up. So just counting for that, under this pilot, that's $3.3 million for the Board of Education for the 30-year life of this pilot. I'll pause there if there's any questions. I'm reaching the end of the spiel. And I will flip back to a couple more photos to show you what these look like in just a second, talk a bit more about jobs. So really, what we're seeking tonight, what we're here to ask the Board of Education for is approval to enter into this pilot. You'll see that there's a number of different county agencies that need to sign off on that pilot agreement. Our intent is to have the county commission review and approve this final form, the final draft of this pilot agreement at Wednesday's commission meeting. But of course, we have to get the support of the Board of Education before we can do that. So that's why we're here
In the
tonight.
document, it calls for a resolution. I'm assuming this document is the resolution. Is that correct?
It can be, yes, yeah, exactly, yeah. And there was a step that we skipped earlier in the process. In some cases, county commissions will do a resolution earlier on in the process to basically demonstrate support for the project while we work out the details of the pilot. We skipped that. We've been in contact with the county commission and presented to them a number of times. So at this point, I don't think that there's a need to do a resolution. It's just going to be an agenda item to approve the pilot as currently drafted.
That, you mentioned batteries a while ago. Basically, the energy goes into the grid, but sometimes you can store it or...
Yes, sir. A battery project is contemplated on this project. It's not included in this pilot. If we do a battery here, it's going to be honestly a little bit further out. The technology is still a bit earlier. It's still a little bit early for us to have any confidence in that component of the project. So to answer your question, yes, batteries are used to do a couple of things. What we call time shifting. You know, they can capture energy that's produced during the middle of the day when no one's really using it and shift it to peak demand hours and dispatch it, you know, like from 5 to 7 in the summertime. But it also helps regulate voltage. There's all sorts of energy quality issues on the grid that I never knew that there was such a thing as power quality, but there is, and batteries can help act like a sponge or a big buffer to the grid. So if there's some voltage flicker, or if there's some other, you know, if there's a big demand, all of a sudden everyone cranks on their ACs, then you know, that battery can dispatch 100% of its electricity right away. So it provides a number of other grid services, but for this project, at this point, we're not ready to move forward the battery system. If a battery component ever becomes viable here, we'll be coming back before the commission in front of the Board of Education to seek another pilot agreement for that part of the project. And I do just want to touch on the construction for a while, because this is a big part of what we do, and it's a big impact to the local communities. These projects take, you know, depending on the size, anywhere from 12 to 24 months to build. So if phase 1 is 150 megawatts, let's say, that's going to be about an 18-month construction effort. And that's going to take about 250 construction workers to complete that project. We try to hire as many local folks as we can. We train folks when needed, and the nice thing about solar construction is it's an equal opportunity employer. It can be anything from, you know, very basic day labor up to a licensed electrician or, you know, project coordinator, project manager. So there's a lot of opportunities for employment. It's pretty simple construction for the most part. You don't need a lot of electricians to do it. It's a lot of earthwork, a lot of grading, and then you have some mechanical work where they're, you know, pouring concrete pads where the inverters and things are going, and then the electricians will do a lot of the terminations with the more complex wiring. But a lot of the solar panels is pretty simple, it's plug and play. So a lot of folks can do it without a whole lot of experience. So this is what your typical construction looks like. You know, it starts with site work, site prep, grading. There is going to be a good bit of grading up here in order to accommodate the project. Then you install what we call the racking. That's what holds the panels up. It's basically just steel I-beams that are driven into the ground. And then you have just some aluminum frames that attach to those piles to accommodate the solar panels. The solar panels are hung on there, and then they're all wired together. And then here's some pictures of operational solar farms. Thank you. The solar farm itself, it's mostly open space. You know, the solar farm is really, it's more open space than it is solar panels, because if you put them too close together, you start to shade the one behind it, so that's no good. So typical solar panels are, you have a row, and then you have about 22 to 24 feet of spacing, and then you have another row of solar panels. So in, around, and under the solar panels is grass. We use a slow-growing native grass mix to try to cut down on the number of times we have to cut it each year. But yeah, we you know, we'll use pollinator-friendly species as much as we can. But the grass grows and these projects operate silently. They don't require any government services. That's one of the nice things about these projects is once they're up and running, you might have a small operations and maintenance and security personnel presence on site. But for the most part, they're just quiet revenue generators. They collect the sun, make electricity, and pay taxes.
Is the lease payment a one-time thing, or is that a yearly? or what?
It's an annual payment. I think we have it right now set up to pay on March 1st of every year. Those payments begin when we reach what's called commercial operation. So once phase 1 is completed in 2025, 2026, that's when the payments begin for, under the pilot.
And who gets that?
I think it's collected by the sheriff and then distributed to the county and to the school board.
So that is in addition to the $625 per megawatt?
No, that is the $625 per megawatt.
Oh. Or $1,000 per megawatt, whichever is lower, it says.
Can you tell me which page you're looking at?
Last page, attachment A.
Oh, that's in relation to the lease. So under our lease with the county, we do have to pay for the lease. There's 2 documents that go along with this. There's a pilot, that's our payment in lieu of taxes, and then in order to facilitate the tax abatement, there's a lease involved where the county is taking, the way it works administratively, in order to take the property off the tax rolls, is the county has to take ownership of the equipment. So it's not, in practice, they're not gonna be doing anything with the equipment. But for that, in exchange for that, that's where the lease comes in, and that's what this lease payment is referencing. So that doesn't apply to this pilot agreement, that only applies to the lease. And that does not impact the Board of Education, that's just the county.
So did your company contact our county commission, or did our county commission contact you?
We contacted the county commission.
Well, I was gonna give them some credit.
Well, I will say that they,
Right, we work with them.
yeah, it has been a collaboration for sure. And in all honesty, we found this site, we got very lucky. This is the same landowner of our Martin County, Kentucky site. So we had already started developing that one. The landowner presented us with an opportunity here, and we pursued it. So until I came knocking, I don't think that you all even knew that we were here. And that's because we have a lot of work to do. So until the project reaches some level of maturity and we know it's viable, we don't want to waste anyone's time. But at this point, we do think this project is viable. There's still a lot of work to do. There's certainly still a lot of risks, so I don't want to give everyone the impression this is a slam dunk. But this is a very exciting project. The county has been fantastic to work with, and it's these sorts of collaborations and communities where these projects are successful, especially on a complicated site like this one. These mine sites, they're good from a lot of perspectives. They're good reuses of the land, but they are very challenging from a real estate perspective, all the severed mineral estates. The engineering is very challenging, and challenging means expensive. So, but this is a major step forward, and what this will allow us to do is lock up another variable. You know, the whole big tax question is a big variable, and once we can put this behind us, then we can take the project to market and start selling the power, get what we call a power purchase agreement in place, which is the next major milestone for the project.
As a county commission, have you contacted your attorney and had them look at this? I'm sure you have. haven't you? Okay. Because I can't read it.
And I will
I
say,
can read it, but I can't understand part of it, so.
our attorney, we're working with Chris Hunter from Jackson Kelly on this. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to be here tonight, but if there are any specific legal questions, please reach out to me. My contact information is in that packet. I can certainly answer the questions as best as I can, or connect you directly with our attorney to make sure that he's answering all the legal questions.
Well, what happens after 30 years or 40 years? You're going to rebuild, or, I mean, you don't know, you just wait and see? Or?
Well, that's a good question, and that's something a lot of communities are concerned about, is what happens if you guys just going to leave this thing sitting out here. The state has a requirement, state law, it's called decommissioning, and that's actually written, that's part of the lease agreement that we have with the county, is we have to decommission the site and restore it to its pre-solar condition. So, and just in case we go bankrupt or we decide to walk away from the site for some crazy reason, we actually have to have a third-party engineer come up with a decommissioning plan, stipulates exactly how we decommission the site and restore the property, and come up with a cost estimate for how much it's going to cost to do that. And then we have to post that in the form of a bond with the county. So in the event that we go away or we fail to decommission the site on our own, the county can, can take, it's a reclamation bond, exactly, can take the proceeds and hire a contractor to do the work themselves. So, like 40 years from now, who knows, maybe nuclear fission will be hacked or cracked and we'll figure something else out, but.
Well, 5 seconds so far.
Yeah, we're getting close. It's probably gonna be a few decades, so maybe by the time this is ready to retire, they'll be ready for the next thing. But our property is being leased. We're not gonna own it. That's very typical for the industry. Our lease term is for 40 years, so even if we wanted to go longer, we don't have the site control agreement. We don't have the lease to do that.
You said 250 jobs to get this construction going, then after that, how many would it employ?
Very minimal. In terms of direct on-the-ground, on-site jobs, depends on who the owner is. Likely it's going to be us. In some cases, if we do work with a utility, like I will say First Energy likes to own their projects. Utilities tend to staff their projects at a higher rate than we would, but if it's us, you might have 2 or 3 O&M people and then a couple security guards. And those are good paying jobs. Those are, hiring right now $80,000 a year for O&M. There's usually a construction trailer, like an O&M trailer up on site that they work out of, and it's good Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 type work. Any additional questions for us?
Thank you for reaching out to the commission. Thank the commission for having the desire to create a few more jobs in Nicholas County and bring some more revenue. So thank you
And
guys.
it was it's been a 2-year thing, and it's all 3 of us commissioners have worked on, and all of us have met with Eric several times. We feel good about it.
Yeah, I really do appreciate the support that we've gotten from the commission. Everyone's been great to work with and very, very open, very transparent, and very collaborative. So it's taken us a while to get to this point, but these are big projects and these things take time. So we're happy with where we are.
Now, how much is the overall project going to cost? You won't.
Well, it gets expensive. If we, with today's prices, if we build the full 250 megawatts as is right now, it's going to be about $275 million in construction costs. The nice thing though about these projects, and I didn't really talk about this in terms of why are we doing this, it's not just because Toyota or Amazon, whoever wants to be green. Solar energy actually is the cheapest new form of power generation. So when you're looking at comparing the cost of a new gas plant versus a solar farm versus a wind farm, if you're looking at it on $1 per megawatt or $1 per kilowatt hour basis, solar is the cheapest. It's expensive right now because everything's gotten very expensive right now, but the market's starting to level out again. But also, once they're built, you don't have fuel costs. So solar will help stabilize the cost of electricity for the next 40 years. As long as the sun's still shining, we're going to keep generating electricity essentially for free. There's not much O&M costs that go into these things once they're built. So very large upfront costs, but once it's operational, no fuel costs. You're cutting the grass a few times a year, and you have to replace the occasional panel that might get damaged or something like that. But they just operate and generate revenue.
And there's no pollution of any type.
Nope, no sir, no pollution, there's no emissions. That's one of the things that's unique about solar, has kind of got me interested in the first place, is like every form of our electricity generation always involves spinning something. Whether it's a windmill or coal, you're heating up water, spinning a turbine, burning gas, spinning a turbine. Solar, you don't even have moving parts. There's a chemical process when the photons hit these silicon wafers where electrons start to move, and that's what generates the electricity. So we're not spinning a turbine, we're not boiling water. It's not like those ones you see out west where there's a whole bunch of mirrors that are pointed at some big boiler. This is just photovoltaic solar. So it's the one moving part that we do have is these rows of solar panels. They actually tilt throughout the day, so they're kind of like a sunflower. track the sun through the day. You know, it'll be facing east in the morning and then facing west in the evening as the sun sets in that direction. That just helps improve the production.
What's the longest you've had, you say you have 38 states.
Yes, sir.
What's the longest project you have right now?
Longest operating?
Yes.
Probably 5 or 6 years now, I'd say, is one of our oldest projects. That one is there's an old one in Texas I know we've got in our portfolio, and an old one in South Carolina. The reason that you don't have many that are older than that is because the industry didn't really get to a point where the technology was cheap enough to be deployable at a large scale. So solar photovoltaic solar was actually invented in the 50s, but it was only in the past 8 years, where it's gotten cheap enough to deploy at a large scale like this, where it's actually cheap enough to be economical as just a form of power generation for the grid.
Any other questions? We thank you all.
Thank
very
you,
much.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Okay, discussion 5C, ZMM Glade Creek Utility Package and Contract Amendment, requesting immediately consideration of action item A.
So you have in your packet, ZMM is asking for a contract amendment. I asked them to come speak tonight for the utility package that needs to go out for Glade Creek. So you've had time to review that. If you have any questions, I'm not sure if you have anything you want to present on.
We'll just answer any questions if you have them, or we can go over the whole amendment if you'd like, or however you want to proceed.
That was basically put the utilities in, and of course pave over before you start any other work. You have that groundwork done, you don't have to go back and tear it up again.
Correct. For the site utility package, a couple things that we're doing with it. We're basically putting the base course paving in for what we're calling the inner loop road. That's the road that goes completely around the site. And it'll take care of the parking areas on the outside of that loop road. We're leaving everything inside of the loop road dirt so that it can be made easier for construction of the building itself. And then in this package, we'd be bringing all the site utilities inboard, and they're basically coming just inside of that inner loop road. We're not extending them too much further into the building. With the exception of the power, we are going to bring the power into the transformer pad area. That way the building contractor can set temporary power and set some temporary transformers for their construction purposes there. Yes, the idea is we're putting the base course paving down and doing all the crossings, everything now for all the utilities, that we wouldn't have to go back and trench up the road or roadways later.
Are we still mounding the site for the winter?
That was part of the change order 3, I believe, that is on your agenda for this evening's agenda. That would be surcharging, what we're referring to, surcharging the pad, mounting the site there. It also adds some additional drainage structures where the building footprint shrunk. We're having to bring some of the drainage a little bit closer to the building than was originally designed. So that's part of that change order 3.
Was this modified any with the changes in the program, in the construction of the site when it was redesign. Is this the same, or has it?
The contract?
Yeah.
We actually added, it's been modified because of the additional services we have to provide now. The testing agency, the commissioning agent, and the drilling services for the geothermal test holes. All of that has modified the contract to our contract, so that it's not being bid, it's just modified the contract, so those services can be performed. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. Now, it says, with the exception of change order number 3. What's that?
What's change order 3?
Yeah.
First bullet there.
Is that the other one we have here?
Oh, under Article 3?
Change order.
It's on
Site utility and paving package, second bullet, or first bullet.
Is that on your agenda? It's not on mine.
That's on that, what he's got right there.
Here,
What was
so
that?
where,
Oh, you can answer that.
so where are you talking here?
It says-
So, make sure I understand your question here.
It says M&H's contract with the acceptance of change order number 3. What is change order number 3?
Change order number 3 is part of in your packet this evening for consideration.
Yeah, they had a copy.
Change order number 3 is what he just asked about surcharging the building pad, and we're having to add some additional storm structures to the site
Because it got smaller.
because it got smaller, yes.
I know on the call today, you said you were gonna reach out to the utility, to the power company. Did you do that later, or is that sometime this week?
Sometime this week for the power company, yes. And on the site utility package, we would anticipate the package would be advertised for bidding sometime in the month of January. Bids received likely in February with a start late February for construction.
So they just put the base down for that, they don't actually put the top coat and all that
So,
on the paving?
correct, so M&H is putting some of the base aggregate down throughout most of the site. They'll void the separation fabric and the geotextile fabric where we've got utilities coming through. So that gravel can be moved, that utility can go through and be installed. That utility contractor would go through, add the separation fabric, the geotextile back, spread the gravel back across, and then that one would do the base course paving only. So you would get base course paving, so your building contractor has a parking lot essentially for lay down of material. They're responsible to maintain it, and then the building contractor would ultimately do the top coat of paving, where of course. It will keep the site a lot cleaner, less muddy, and keep the roadways coming in and out of the site a lot cleaner as well.
Was none of this included in the original contract?
The original contract was for mass grading and the storm, the overall storm system, the stormwater system, not the utilities, not the paving, because you don't want to put all of that in at one time, ideally. pulled this out as a separate package because as it being in the building package, the issue that we have is the timing becomes a little bit of an issue now. Now we have M&H's contract ending and no one on site for several months with an active DEP permit. So we would have to either extend M&H's contract for an additional amount to do erosion and sediment control measures and just maintain it after every weather event. Or we have this contractor on site that's responsible to maintain it as well. As they're working on site, they already have equipment. They don't have to bring equipment on and off the site. Keeps the cost down. Also, by pulling it out of the building package, we're also eliminating a little bit of overhead and profit out of this as well, and additional markup. So we're going to see some savings to the board for that work.
Is the total cost on the first page, $450,898? Is that everything? Or is that just?
Okay, so that is the change order to M&H's contract. The site utility package is not the change order to M&H's contract. I want to make sure that that's clear. The site utility package is a separate package. We would advertise for bid, seek bids from a contractor, award that contractor to come out to the site utility work and the base course paving work. What you're seeing for the change order for M&H's contract is to go through, surcharge the building pad by basically crowning it, allowing it to slope. And we're adding some storm structures into that where closer to the building footprint, where the building footprint was originally larger, now it's smaller. We need to extend that storm system a little bit deeper into the building pad. So the 450 is for that surcharge work and the additional storm structures work. The good news I will tell you is that we have allowances on that job that were bid as part of the original base contract. Even though this is a positive add to that contract, right now you are sitting on a net credit. You will see the ultimate over about probably around a $300,000 net credit on the project once we are complete. So we do not see that the overall cost from day of the bid day will be increased. We see that it's going to be a decrease. So it is a positive increase right now, but on the back end of this project, I think we have a lot of allowances that will be coming back to you that are going to be unspent.
So where they're gonna crown this, and I understand why they're gonna crown it. Of course, that crown will have to be taken off. Will there be another surcharge for that?
That will be built in, that's built into the building contractor's package. We'll
Okay.
It's gonna be in the competitive pricing mode, so you're gonna pay the cheapest amount for that to happen at that point in time.
Okay.
But that is a good question.
When will they crown? I mean,
Well.
when is it already here, so, I mean.
It's now. We want them to start crowning it and start putting that material in there ASAP. So that as soon as we can get an approval, we want that work to start immediately on the crowning work.
If they have weather.
Yeah, if they have weather, but the crowning is not so much a compaction issue like it is right now with other areas. So, you can place that material as far as the crowning goes, and if you have a higher moisture content, it's not the end of the world. We're just trying to pack it in and make sure that we're getting drainage across that site.
That's just soil material that's already on site.
Yes, soil material is already on site. The issue is if we don't do it, we're going to be taking out the top 3 to 4 feet of whatever M&H leaves behind and have to replace that material with material that's not on site. That will be a considerably, a much greater cost than the 450 that's in their proposal.
So the site utility and paving package would have been a part of the total project.
Originally, the site utility package was in the building construction package that would be coming out later this spring.
And you pulled it out because the time factor here, where we are. Okay, so you're gonna put that out for bid in early January, this project?
Yes.
And hopefully get the bids back early February, so they can start, while M&H is still there.
Correct.
Okay. All right, to get it completed.
Yeah, the plan is for this contractor to overlap M&H and be able to basically have another contractor to hand that site off to. So it's not sitting dormant.
M&H be able to maybe get that contract also, since they already have equipment there? So they,
It's public bid, so
Yeah.
they would have the option to bid on that, yes.
And they're going to be leaving March 30, right?
Their substantial completion date with the change order 3, it gets extended for the work in change order 3.
Until
Their
May.
substantial completion date would be extended to March 30th of 2023.
Yeah, that part of, well, they asked for an extension, didn't they? M&A? I thought I read that somewhere, I'm not sure.
The first change order, they got an extension of time in the first change order. I'm trying to remember what that was, but it was
Buffalo
for,
Transport.
It was tied to the building pad itself, I believe. It wasn't tied to-
Buffalo Transport asked for a 4-month extension.
That's part of.
but that's part of the change order 3 that takes us to that March 30th date
Buffalo Transport is doing business as
as.
M&H.
Yeah, they're part of it.
Anything else?
So what we're talking about will save money,
In the end, yes,
bottom line.
it will save money. It is an additional bid package. It does take cost out of the building package, puts it there in the site utility package, but we are able to keep contractors working on the site. We're going to see a lesser cost for erosion and sediment control. We'll see, with the change order work to M&H's contract, we'll see lesser unsuitable soil materials that we'll have to address later on. And the advantage to this is we keep progress, we keep moving the project forward.
Anything else? Okay, gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you.
So at this time, we're gonna skip discussion item D. We're gonna skip discussion item E. And we're gonna go ahead and go to action item A, B, and C so we can get these guys out of here. Because they have a long ways to go. So, at this time, let's go to action item A, approval to advertise and bid the site utility and paving package for Nicholas County High School, Summersville Middle School site. Approval is contingent on approval by SBA. Action item B is approval of ZMM contract amendments. And action item C is the approval of the pilot, which is the payment in lieu of taxes program with Savion Solar Company.
Mr. President, I move that we approve action items A, B, and C.
Okay, we have a motion to approve A, B, and C.
Second.
Mr. Berry seconds that motion. Any discussion? All in favor of action items A, B, and C? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome to stay, but
I'm going to try to be as least disruptive as possible. Excuse myself.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Here, this week. Is that okay?
Mr. Atkins, Dr. Atkins, thank you very much.
Dave, y'all can go home.
Thank you, guys. Be careful.
Jason, thank you for coming.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Since you're not in office yet, you have to stay.
Okay, so we are going to return to discussion items 5D, which is discussion and possible action on the Cherry River projects alternates 1 and 2.
I carried this over on the agenda since it was tabled last time in hopes that we would have money from community sources or other to fund at least alternate 1, which is to enlarge the gymnasium. At this time, we have no other funding source, and I think it would be prudent to table this item again until later this month to see other sources of money that may come in.
Personally, I'm glad I think that's most appropriate because we need to give as much time as possible. We don't know what might happen between now and December the 31st, but I think I agree with you that we should table this until that. And set another date, maybe the end of the month or something, Mr. President.
Well, I want to say that publicly that every one of us is working hard on getting these alternates the money for them. And I know the public thinks that we can just take the board excess money and pay for those, but we have been instructed by SBA not to do that. If we do that, we're in jeopardy of not being able to secure any more money if we go above 6,200 standards.
We have a guidance document that I passed out to the board last time that was issued from the SBA through the entire state to every state superintendent that recognized that there was a shortage in funds for building construction, meeting construction needs. It was also stated that in projects that fell within the 6,200 range, that those projects may be considered for additional funding. It did not say that we would receive it, but it said may be considered. I know that there's several $1 million that's not been used this year for new projects. It's actually being held over to fund last year's projects because projects throughout the state, they're running approximately 40% over. And of course, that's causing a real issue for everyone. The issue is really if we're running short on money and we have guidance document from SBA, again, that I passed out, that says, you know, falling within 6,200 be considered for additional funding, there's no guarantee. How do we spend our money to go above 6,200 and then hold our hand out and ask someone else to give us additional funding? So therein lies the challenge. I am very hopeful that there's other money sources that come through. You know, I'm making a plea once again that anyone that has any influences, anyone that can help support this project, getting that gym alternate is a priority. If we need 2 additional classrooms, that can always be added later, but that gym, it's really critical that we add it now, and the contractor did give us till the end of the month. And again, I think that it would be wise to set another meeting at the end of the month, and hopefully people if they're able to give money or donations, that we can move forward with that way, that measure.
So publicly, let's say it again, we're looking for $510,000.
$511,000 will be enough for the gymnasium. You know, I'm willing to listen to suggestions. I'm willing to make phone calls. I'm willing to meet with individuals. Anything that we can do, if you think there's anyone or any organization that may be willing to help with money. I believe that the county commission, I did talk with, at least one of the members and expressed that it would be nice if we could get some support. I believe that they will give support. I mean, I don't know unless they go in and have a vote on it, but the person that I've talked to seemed positive in supporting the community in making the addition larger. But again, it's going to, I think, depend on how much money we can get from other sources. So again, I'm asking, and if anyone wants to meet, discuss, have suggestions, I am available and willing to do what I can to help support this.
So there's a lot of questions on the 6200 standards, and we've asked the architects over and over. Mr. Green asked, I asked, Mr. Moose asked, and they said that we were 6200 standards.
Absolutely.
And there's several people in the public that they don't understand why the Glade Creek site is going to have, why their gymnasium is going to be able to hold to two sectionals, but the Richwood's not, and they're both 6200 standards. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, it's based on population. So the gymnasium size is based on the number of students, the population. So as far as the current structure of Nicholas County High School, it cannot hold sectionals. But with additional seating added, which will make the bleachers closer to the gymnasium floor, it would be possible to hold sectionals, or to lift the curtains on the end to be able to hold sectionals. But it all is based on the student population number. So for example, the auditorium at Richwood, which is separate from the gymnasium, they are absolutely not combined. They are separate. They've always been separate. So the auditorium at Richwood is the exact same, calls for the exact same size as the auditorium at Nicholas County High School, even though Nicholas County High School has double the population. And that's just because that's the way policy is written. Does it seem fair? Does it seem just? It does not. But the answer that I received was, in 6200, the concern is with the educational requirements, not the athletic component. Do I think that's right? No, but that doesn't, my opinion doesn't matter in this.
Well, and I just asked that so that we can put that out in the public, because for the last couple of weeks, we've been bombarded. Why didn't you all do those amendments? And we're working on them. And we will continue to work for the next week.
One other correction, though, on that, as I understood, and maybe I misunderstood, but I think I understood pretty clearly. The architect said also that in some cases, we had them to design both schools to policy 6200 standard, and in some cases, the school at Glade Creek is less than 6200, particularly in some classroom areas. So, if you want to look at fairness, I got 10 beans, you got 10 beans, that type of thing. You'd have to say that Nicholas County High School, the one that's over here at Glade Creek, is not up to 6200 standard in every single area, as the Richwood, the project over there is.
Richwood is, Nicholas County High School is not. We are below the standards in many of the areas.
Yeah, I think their auditorium here will be smaller than the one that's in the present.
Yeah.
It is smaller. The gaming part of that area, combined with the auditorium, will give it additional seating, but it's still smaller. So that's why there's two alternates. The two alternates, originally, when we realized that we were over budget, escalation was so high, I didn't want to see Richwood have a smaller gym. I wanted it to be a larger gym. To give a couple extra classrooms if we could, that's over 6,200. I didn't want Nicholas County High School to have a smaller auditorium after I realized we could put extra seating in their gymnasium. So those were things that were important, and what I had hoped was that the escalation would come down and that we would have an opportunity, if we come in below bid, that we would have enough money to go ahead and accept those alternates. We didn't come in below bid, we came in $12.5 million over bid. So the whole reason behind having the alternates set aside was in the event that we had low bids and there was plenty of money, because it would have been a terrible thing to have not considered having alternates, and let's just say it would have come in $2 million under bid. Then we wouldn't have had alternates. And that would have been a very unfair thing, and that's the whole reason behind the alternates and trying to make them work.
Why can we not use FEMA funds for the gymnasium?
The FEMA funds, as I stated, we are 12.5, the construction managers and the architects have both stated to this board that we are 12.5 million over on the Richwood project. We're not going to have enough to do the Glade Creek project. So how do you spend money to go above 6,200 standards for the Richwood gym when you're currently below standards for Nicholas County High School and don't even have enough money to meet that? So how do you go above and pay money for one school when you know you don't even have enough money to meet minimum standards at the other school?
You did say FEMA money, right?
Right.
Mr. Moose?
And that's FEMA, right, so our FEMA money, that's why.
What about school improvement? I mean,
That's still our money, so the Board of Education, you know, you're responsible for making good fiscal decisions, or you could be personally held liable. You could be personally liable. So any money that we have in our coffers is money that, just like if you've got a house payment that's due, you can't say, well, I want to keep this little pocket money over here, this little bit of money over here for myself, and I'm only going to send you this much for the house payment, when in fact the house payment is a certain dollar amount, and you've got this much in your account, you can still buy food for your kids and do whatever. You have to do that. I mean, I don't know any other way to explain it, because it's our money that comes in. I've explored levy money, I've explored every possibility that I possibly can. And if it's in our coffers and it is something that is additional money, contingency, or if it's anything additional, we're going to have to give. So any of our surplus, that's going to have to go toward these building projects. And that's going to have to go toward meeting the minimum standards. So we have to meet the minimum standards before you can even think about going above the standards. That's logic, that's reasonable.
So let's say we had 100 million in surplus. It would be a no-brainer. We wouldn't be asking for any more money. We could do this.
Honestly, I'm looking at everything I can possibly look at. I truly want to see this happen.
I don't think there's anybody on this board that doesn't want to see it happen, because now's the time to make the gym bigger.
Yes.
But
we still have the 100,000 that we're upgrading the football field with. Got that on the agenda again tonight.
Right, because that's a current plan that we have with that money. Or we can keep the money and not approve that, and you can spend it on your school construction.
I'd rather do that than new fence.
Okay, well, that's fine.
That's me, but
That's
we got a
fine.
board here.
That's fine.
no, I don't think you get it. Maybe I don't get it.
No, you get it.
Well,
I mean, that's a construction project that we have.
If we
Yes.
hold that money back, we can't just say, well, we're gonna put that towards that gym.
Oh, no, it can't be toward the gym, not to upgrade the gym, if that's what you're saying.
Yeah,
No,
It can
that's
only
not,
go towards
you're meeting your minimum standards.
6,200 standards. If we go above 6,200 standards,
How do you justify it? If you're going down and you're asking someone for money, how do you justify,
well, I have been asking a lot of people for money.
yeah.
well, how do you
yes.
justify spending our school money to build above 6,200 when you know we don't have enough money to even meet 6,200 over here?
And what do they say, Mr. Green?
You got, I won't say it in front of the board, in front of the public. It's not good.
Have you thought about going to the contractor and see if they could value engineer anything, cut out some of the, nice finishes or?
It's done. It is where it is. They've cut out, that's why our bid came in $4 million less in Richmond.
And if you did that, you'd have to put it out for rebid.
Yeah, to all the other contractors
Yep.
to bid.
You'd have to let everybody do that if they would nail you on it.
The SBA approves both the bid and the two alternates at the same time. I spoke with them yesterday. So, I don't think,
Mr. Moose, I talk with them almost daily, and I know that they told me, they expressly told you that they would not recommend the alternates.
they said, I said, were the alternates on the original bid that you okayed? They said yes.
To go through as an alternate. It was not on the bid, there was only one bid that went through this time. To be considered as an alternate, they agreed. I explained to them when we originally did it, if we have less than, if our bids come in less than what is projected, we wanted those alternates. They agreed. So the bids now have gone out for the contractors. And the bid that's out is not, so it was for consideration. They're not going to say no. The only thing I can tell you is I've explained it the best way I know to explain it. And you're just gonna have to make the decision.
Well, I've made my decision.
Well, can we work on this for another week and bring it back?
I say we table it until,
Give as much time as we can possibly get.
well,
We've got the holidays here.
we got next Thursday or Friday is it, probably. And if we meet Friday, we want to do it in the morning, I believe.
I don't see any point with that bid on blade is not going to come in anywhere near the projected amount. If I'm not out of order, can I make a motion?
That's your, yes, you can make a motion.
I make a motion, we accept alternate A and pass that on to contractors.
I'll second it, but you know what? We'll raise more money, that's,
If we raise more money, we can still put it back in there, can't we?
we don't get a bigger gym, I don't go back to Richmond, I'll tell you that right now.
You have to think about the whole county though. And
Well-
there's not enough money over here, so you're going above. But again, it's, you're a board member and you can be held fiscally. I'm sure you've read the code on that.
Personally, I'm just worried that we're gonna lose all the money if we go above 6,200 standards.
And all,
I cannot see FEMA say, here on the Cherry River campus, you put out a bid, you accepted the bid, and you have the money to pay for it. Now, because you don't have the money over here, and you won't make changes that will bring it within the limits, then we're not gonna give you money for Richwood or Summersville. They're not gonna do that. They're not gonna take all the money.
It's one package.
We did make changes over here, and it's they're both 6,200 standards.
Yeah.
I mean, what else can we change? I know there's a misconception out there, people get on the website and look at the plans, they think that Summer, or that Nicholas is gonna get this, this, and this. And those pictures are not accurate. They're not,
Listen, I want Nicholas to get everything they can get. I want Richwood to get everything they can get.
I do too.
But I say roll the dice.
Mr. President, in all good conscience, I'm just going to say I cannot vote for that because we have been told by the architect, we've been told by the superintendent, the SBA's letter, that we are in jeopardy, that we're placing in jeopardy the funding that we have for our total project for all schools. So I'm just going to be honest with you, I cannot vote for that.
So when you talk to the SBA, because the SBA told who I talked to said, you better stick with 6,200 standards. They told you that we could go above 6,200 standards?
No, they told me that they had approved both alternates when they approved the original bid.
Well, they approved them and put them out for bid.
Yes.
Prior to bidding, prior to bidding.
Yeah, to put them out for bid.
Right.
Well, I think as board members, we all have to consider all the students. We can't just consider one area. And I originally was for, early on, I came on for those alternates. And we,
You're actually the one that suggested we put alternates in the event that we didn't come in
I
over
would
budget.
like to have seen them, but I just can't jeopardize the whole project. Either one, the way it is.
And also, the middle school tells me that they're gonna have 2 less classrooms in the new facility than they have now. And they're crowded anyway. And we said, come on, move to Craigsville, we'll get the project going a year early. And then what do? Turn down the bid. And now here we are.
Because it was
Cutting things and
46.5
cutting
million.
things and cutting things, because we're out of money.
We're meeting the minimum standards because we're 40% in escalation across the state. And across the United States, it's even elevated more than that in some areas. So, you know, it just boils down to doing the right thing. You know, I think that, again, that it would be prudent to think of all the kids in the county and at least hold to see if there's money available. I mean, see if people are willing to donate money.
We have a motion on the floor. Call for a vote.
If this vote goes against the amendments, can we vote on it again if we have a special meeting?
What do you mean?
I would call for legal counsel, Mrs. Atkins, to address that.
That would be a motion to reconsider, and I wasn't prepared to talk about that. I need to, maybe if you want to move on to something else, and let me go get my Robert's Rules book.
You can reconsider, and it has to be in the very next meeting, so I think you can reconsider, in my recollection of that.
I want to double check that.
Right ahead.
I can tell you, when I was on the school board, we did have one matter come up, and it has to come from the prevailing party. The prevailing party, someone from the, if it's 3-2, someone of the 3 has to make the motion at another meeting to re-vote. And if they then re-vote, they can't. But it's got to come from the prevailing party, not the losers.
I think Dr. Atkins is right. The prevailing party, whichever side votes, if it's a negative vote, that would be the prevailing party, right? then someone from that side would have to bring it up at the next meeting for a revote.
We call a special meeting for that.
Yeah, you can call a special meeting for consideration.
What difference does it make if somebody gives us $500,000 and we expand the gym? It still exceeds 62 or 6,300.
But we're not using county funds.
That's the difference.
You get the project down here at Lake Creek, we're not gonna have any fields unless somebody wants to chip in and help finish that. There will be no finished fields. I mean, that's before.
And there's an alternate for that, for the auditorium. Again, will people chip in for the auditorium?
Yeah, we didn't even talk about it. We just talked about the space inside, that was lacking inside the buildings. That was all the orders about.
Now, say we raised to $300,000. Now, would the board be willing to step in some of that?
I don't think that we can, because we're using county funds.
I don't think we'll raise $511,000. All things calls I made. We had a pretty good start, but it's. I had a little bit to give there. Somewhat. Done a lot of talking. Done a lot of talking.
Ms. Atkins, are you still?
Okay, so to move for reconsideration, you have to vote on the prevailing side according to Robert's rules. Now, what I want to do is to look at our policy real quick to make sure there's nothing in our policies that are different than that, so give me 1 second.
I just think it's going to be difficult to reach out to the legislature and ask them for funding when we've gone above requirements. When I know that there's 3 other counties that did not get their projects funded because they exceeded supplemental funding from the SBA because they exceeded policy 6200 standards.
And that's what the SBA said.
They have 428
That's what the SBA
Did
told
they have
us.
428 also?
Doesn't have anything to do with the 428 plan.
All it has to do with is the money that we're available, that we have, and if we go above that, they were not awarded. The SBA did not award any new projects this year, not a one. They had to take their money and back up to last year's projects and give everybody more money. But they didn't give 3 people.
Because they exceeded 6,200. We have no guarantee for the money, but again, it's hard for me to go down, or the board president to go down and ask the legislature or anyone else to give us funding for this shortened school project if we're exceeding and we're spending our money without paying our bills. Our bills, our obligation is to get these schools built first. If someone's willing to give us donations, great. If they're willing to waive some B&O tax, great.
Just to make a point, Mr. Bryan, or President Bryan, you said just a moment ago, the SBA went back and awarded projects, and didn't award any new construction projects, but went back and they acknowledged the fact that that school systems had already had their funding in place to build schools prior to what happened last February when Russia invaded Ukraine and the supply chain shortage and all that happened. They went back now and backfilled those projects so that they could pay for them with additional dollars to meet those challenges of the increased cost and inflation and all that type of thing. So that's where we are with our projects. And we're going to be seeking the same type of help.
Yes,
Does that make
again,
sense?
I have no promise of it, But I don't want to do anything that's going to jeopardize us.
Well, we have a motion by Mr. Moose and a second by Mr. Green for Amendment 1, right? Or not, alternate 1, excuse me. So at this time, is there any other discussion?
She found out everything she needs.
There's nothing in our policies regarding a motion to reconsider, so what you would have to do to reconsider this at the next meeting is that you would have to have voted on the prevailing side.
Okay. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye. Now, my next thing is, and I'm gonna go ahead and put it out there, we're gonna have a special meeting. Special meeting, let's go with the 29th at 9 o'clock. Does that work for everybody?
29th at 9.
29th at 9?
Thursday, the 29th.
Yes. 29th at 9 o'clock. And I was on that, what'd you call that?
Prevailing side.
I was on the prevailing side, which I'm not proud of, but, so I would like us to reconsider next Thursday, the 29th. The alternate one at Cherry River site,
Get it on that
Did you say
agenda.
9:30 or 9 o'clock?
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock.
Get it
So
down.
do 2 also.
Sir?
We go ahead and put 2 on there for special meeting also, if you want. 1 and 2. I mean, we would,
It wasn't in with the original vote.
let's not
We can table 2
take,
until that meeting also, for consideration.
So you want that listed as well?
Yes.
Yes.
The table alternate two. So I've got it written down, the table alternate two.
Okay, discussion on the superintendent's goals as it relates to school performance, student outcomes, and or academics with board goals and actions to improve student achievement and well-being. And so, at this time, Ms. Thomas.
So, we'll get this, I'll run through. You can come up with me though, please. Because for those of you who are not used to being in our meetings, we have marathon meetings. There's no such thing as a 30-minute board meeting in Nicholas County, ever. Are you okay? Okay. Okay, so I'd like to go over the countywide snapshot for math in our IXL. And if you see all county, we have, for math, we at K-5, we had 34 students above grade last time. We have 128 this time. We had 424 on grade. This time we have 772. Last time we had 453 below grade. We've got 332. Last time we had 226. This time we have 125. And last time that was far below grade, and then not assessed was 288 versus only 40. So you can see the growth on the right-hand side. In elementary, you'll see that the K-5, previously we had 77 above grade, now we have 199. We had 318 on grade, now we have 573 on grade. We had 390 below grade, now we've got 363. We have far below 339, now we have 224. And not pinpointed, we had 301, now we're down to 48. Again, the growth is phenomenal, so if it correlates with our testing, we should be in great shape. So all secondary, again, I'll go ahead and give you the snapshot. 6 through 12, 4 above grade. Now we have 6. We had 43 on grade, now we have 77. We had 120 below grade, now we have 163. We had 1,265 far below grade, now we have 1,378. And we had 412 not pinpointed, 188. Continuing to talk and work with secondary principals on this. For the ELA, we had 108 above grade, now we're at 147. We had 130 on grade, now we've got 147. We have 192 below grade, now we've got 202. We had far below grade, 927, now we've got 1,098. And we had 492 not pinpointed, now we have 220. So I'll talk to you about Panther Creek, and I'm not sure, did you bring a PowerPoint, or are you just going to, you did? Okay, so I'll go ahead and go through this. So Panther Creek, you can see, we had, for math, we had 8 above grade, now we have 223. We had 68 on grade, now we have 137. We had 72 below grade, now we have 42. We had 20 far below, now we only have 5. And we have 42 not pinpointed, now we only have 1. Some great gains there. So ELA, we had 13 above grade, and now we have 33. We had 67 on grade, now we have 100. We had 53 below grade, now we have 44. Far below was 35, now 28. And 42 not pinpointed, and 1, now we only have 1. Again, just the drastic difference in this chart. Summersville Elementary School, we had 10 above grade, now we have 21. We had 83 on grade, now we have 136. We had 93 below grade, now we only have 91. 54 below grade, now 38. And 68 not pinpointed, down to 15, which shows some great gains for Summersville Elementary School. ELA for Summersville Elementary, we have 14 above. Now we have 30. We had 67 on grade, now we have 116. We had 81 below, we still have 81 below. We had 75 far below, now we have 57. We had 69 not pinpointed, now we have 18. And for Golly River Elementary, we have 1 above grade, now we have 10. We had 77 on grade, now we have 148. We had 91 below grade, now we have 82. We had 50 far below, now we only have 29. And we had 71 not pinpointed, now we only have 14, and that was math. And you can see just tremendous growth. And for ELA, we had 7 above, and now we have 18. We have 51 one grade, now we have 102. We had 77 below grade, now we have 99. And we have 83 far below, now we have 47. 72 not pinpointed, now we have 21. Again, growth, you see positive gains. So I will turn this over to each of the staff. They'll keep their presentation between 3 to 5 minutes. Does anyone have any questions about this so far?
Just quickly, in the elementary school, how many of the students, is it just grades K, 1 through 5?
K5.
K5.
Is what I presented, yes.
All right, she's apple difficult one, so I guess we'll do.
Okay?
I think it's fun. Yeah. Can you clean that?
Once you get it, you get it.
You trying to heat up yet? Are you guys too hot or you need that to do it? Yeah, you need it.
It's up to you all. You guys need about.
It's up to you. I mean, if you all are okay, we'll leave it closed if it's too hot, we'll open it some for you. Feel a little warm?
Good evening. So I'm going to address areas of low performance. I probably don't need a microphone, I have a teacher voice.
Yeah, you do.
Okay.
You
I need a microphone? Okay.
Or-
So for ELA, we're using Integrity Phonics videos. Those are used in K through 2 classrooms. We have small groups in intervention. We also use IXL and Who's Reading and Secret Stories by Katie Garner. For math, we use small groups and teacher-led intervention and IXL. Panthers chase excellence using IXL data. For ELA, we have 209 students that are using IXL. 98% have up-to-date scores. 64% are on or above grade level. I think that's fantastic. For the BOEG essay goal, we're at about 69%, so we're real close to chasing that number. I think we'll do fantastic on that. For math, we have 209 students that are using IXL. 99% have up-to-date scores. 77% are on or above grade level. So I think that's fantastic in math. We have some phenomenal math teachers. The BOE GSA goal was 63%, so we're way above that.
And that BOE GSA is the final assessment given at the end of the year, right?
It is.
So that, your goal was 63, and it looks like you're
Well above
well
it.
above it.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So far, we're doing really well. For attendance, Panthers are accountable, well-mannered, and safe. That's the acronym PAWS. Students earn 1 PAWS point for bell-to-bell attendance, completing work, exhibiting good behavior both at school and on the bus, and exhibiting good manners. So the reward is you have to at least have 85% of your monthly PAWS points to get that prize. Some examples include an escape room, eating in the classroom using glow sticks, and watching a movie. We also have a countywide attendance goal. To be eligible for that, you have to have 90% overall attendance from November to April, and then we're going to go to the Pittsburgh Zoo if you achieve that goal. Office staff monitoring attendance. The counselor or social worker makes phone calls for absent students. Absent excused forms are sent home. 3-day letters are sent for unexcused absences, and SAT meetings are scheduled for anybody that has 5 unexcused absences. My presence in the classroom. I use Planbook just to monitor and make sure that everybody's protecting their instructional time. I go in classrooms daily. Some classrooms I am in 2 times a day. I do frequent walkthroughs, and IXL is monitored through Live School, and if the student is performing low, then I go into the classroom and help. That's all I have.
What's your population?
243 with preschool and Head Start.
The original number, you had 206 students involved in, out of the
209.
209 out of the 243.
Preschool isn't involved in that. They don't have iPads.
Good job.
Any other questions? Thank you.
You get an A on brevity.
Then you get a call, shop back. We'll call that.
Oh, my.
No.
Some of it, some of it crispy bars.
I still have some influence here.
Did they say she will?
Yeah.
There's lots in there. Look at him.
I'm back up.
Jennifer Davis. Jennifer Davis.
Well, I'll try again here, right? Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
I'm Jennifer Davis. I'm the principal at Summersville Elementary. And I'll start by telling you, we had some challenges, some behavior issues this year, not in the classroom as much as I would like, but I do have a set of goal that I'm going to do, and that's one of my goals that I set for myself. A minimum of 5 15 to 20 minute walkthroughs and observations weekly. If me and the assistant principal, Ms. Pearson, do that, each teacher will receive 2 a month. So that's one of our personal goals, to get out and do that. We have a Google document that we put together that is emailed to us and the teacher to show what we've observed when we're in the classroom. And we've been using Bloom's taxonomy and with Hallerly instructing, giving feedback, and that's what we've been using this year as our walkthrough data to keep a record of what we're seeing in the classroom and things, so that the teacher gets a copy of this when we're finished, and we kind of have a conversation. Hey, did you see this? Or I really like this, or we might need to work on this. Attendance, we have the classroom competition of attend and win. Within the classrooms, they have perfect attendance. They get a letter each day. They have perfect attendance. They make 10 days. They have attend and win, and they get some little prize, maybe a little pajama day in the classroom, or they do a little movie, a 30-minute little movie at the end of the day or something. And then I always post it. We use Class Dojo, so I always post a congratulations on Class Dojo for the kids. We have a monthly bell-to-bell attendance, and they have to be no tardies, no early excuse absences through the whole month, and they can do a little award. This was our October. We did a painting of a pumpkin, and you can see our numbers of how many we got to attend. And then we have a 9 weeks award. They can have 2 or less excused absences within the 9 weeks, and then we did an escape room for the first 9 weeks, and we had 129 kids that got to qualify for that. Those are our attendance. We communicate with our parents through Dojo. Ms. Pearson will send a Dojo message out to the parents and say, hey, we noticed your kid's absent. Is there anything you need help with? Or, are they sick? What's going on? She does that every day. We do our letters. After they've had 3 unexcused absences, we send letters home. We've done phone calls. Our social workers are really good to do phone calls and visits if we get really concerned about a kid. We know that our math, we have low geometry measurement scores. That's shown up throughout the past couple years. So we've really been pushing geometry in our STEM lab and integrating it in the entire year instead of just teaching it as an isolated unit. We're trying to integrate geometry and measurement the entire year in math. Our ELA scores are brought down by writing. So we've been really pushing writing in our PLCs. We're looking at the 6 traits of writing in our PLCs and talking about that. Our 2nd and 4th grade is doing writing by design and sharing that with the others and seeing if that's what we want to go with as a school. We have our small groups and our instructional aides that work with 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade. Our interventionists are working all the way across the board, and our special ed teachers and aides especially work with our special ed students. We're using IXL in the diagnostic arena, and they're working in the area of need, their low areas. On grade level support, the teachers are assigning lessons based on instruction. They're working through skills based on grade levels. And our geometry snapshot, this was the first diagnostic, and this is our current level. So we are growing geometry. Our geometry is getting better. And writing, and it does look bad, but they have to be at 200, level 200 before it starts giving writing. But since this is one of our areas of focus, I put it up here. This was at the beginning of the year. This is where we are now. So we're making progress, slow and steady.
You like IXL?
Yeah, I do. It gives me a lot of information, especially when I go to do SAT meetings. I can pull off the information and really tell the parents where the need is.
What's your population?
Well, if, in Weebus right now, I looked before I came up here, we have 390 kids registered in Weebus.
Does that include your preschool?
That includes preschool.
So the writing, which is not my expertise, but
Mine.
I used to work with somebody that it was her expertise. And so she got the whole school on board with what she was doing.
Uh-huh. And that's what we're trying to do.
You know, it's hard if you've got one teacher doing some program and a different teacher doing a different program, and it doesn't flow at
That's
all.
why we went ahead and let second and fourth try this writing by design, so they could bring to the table what they liked about it. And then that way, if they can share, and if it is something we want to go school-wide, we're going to go. If not, I mean, we started by trying to pull things together and build a program that everybody would buy into.
And that's the key.
Yeah.
This is, what grades are
Kindergarten through fifth.
all the way? Okay.
Mhm.
Could you show the math again?
Yeah. There's our geometry. That's just geometry.
Looks good.
That green really grew, didn't it?
Yes, it did. And we got the manipulatives now. Now, we don't have to have the COVID and this, we can get them out and we can share and we can, you know, use them. It's making a big difference.
Yeah.
Good job.
Good.
Thank you very much. Now we got the newbie.
I'll kick him a couple times while he's.
I don't have the presentation that they have. I was going to pigtail off the data that she presented. First of all, we have 331 students. That's pre-K through 5. You saw from our data that we are using the IXL and are seeing growth. I want to address how we would address areas of concern or gaps. And one of those would be obviously through intervention. In fact, we just tweaked our interventionists to move more intervention to the lower grades. And we're going to be able to use some tutoring toward improving, pinpointing students in higher grades that need that coming up to testing time. Also, teachers can use the IXL, as they mentioned. They can use it to pinpoint areas of concern, and by monitoring plan book, working with them, they can then try to hit areas that need to improve. So that covers that. As far as attendance goes, we've had 1 month that we got hit pretty hard with sickness, and we were at 90.24, but our other months have looked okay, but we would still like them to be better. We want to have a weekly attendance champion, and that class gets to have their picture on the Facebook page and on the screen as you walk into school, okay? And then also individual incentives. So if you have perfect attendance for the month, your name will go on the poster, and you'll get a certificate that says you have perfect attendance for that month. And we'd like to give them a treat like popcorn or something that's sustainable for us to do. Also, we use dojo points for attendance like the other schools mentioned. And so that's how we're going to handle attendance. As far as observations, I've got to do 6 formal observations. I intend to do 4 a month to the end of the year. I try to get in most classrooms every day, and I think if you ask the teachers, they'll tell you that they do see me in there, but some days there's things that happen and you just can't. And as far as monitoring, that's the idea, to be able to go out and use the plan book to see what they're doing, to look at the different systems that they're using to improve what they're doing. And for example, and I'll mention something that Ms. Thomas talked about, we also use a lot of small group in our classrooms. And last year when she was the principal, she set it up so that the classes are split so that in a lot of our grade levels, they have 1 teacher for reading and 1 teacher for math. And that's all I have for you at this time. Do you have any questions?
You're new to IXL, what do you think?
I like it. I like it. I like that it shows Number one, the kids like being able to see that they're growing. They see that, that makes them feel good, that makes them want to do that. And then number two, I like the idea that you can pinpoint, or they can pinpoint, and a teacher can pinpoint, they're weak in this specific area. They don't have this skill. And if they can see that several students don't have that skill, then you know specifically, oh, okay, they can't do multiplication of certain digit numbers, that type of thing. And you can go back and try to correct that.
I want to say, I visited Golly River, what was it, about a month ago?
I'm not exactly sure.
But I was impressed with the kids that he already knew by name. And how long you been there?
September 12th.
So, you know, it's tough to know all their names, but anyway, thank
Okay.
you very much.
And any of you are welcome to visit anytime. And my teacher said that today too. Make sure you tell them they're welcome to come, so.
Maybe you bring the bell out for my two.
Hey, did we get that carbon monoxide taken care of?
Yes, sir.
Good.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're back to action items. Action items D, action item D, approval of the annual Make a Splash Water Festival. And that's all fifth grade students at Carnifax Ferry State Park, April 13th, 2023. Any questions on that?
That's a good program. I've taken part in that before. Other places.
I've been to that myself, yes.
Yeah, that sound, I wasn't familiar with it, I read over that. I thought, well, that's all early in the year to have, water activities, but, it'd be cold. But anyway, there was more involved in that. So, yeah, I think that sounds good.
Alrighty, action item E, approval of the MOU with Concord University Social Work Program.
That is sort of like the student teaching early in social.
That is, contract is in your packets, and it's exactly, Mr. Berry's exactly right. It's like when we place teacher interns, this is social workers. And we do have social workers in the school, so this gives us an extra pair of hands, as well as hopefully a future employee.
Will they provide you with a background check and a drug test? It says that the college doesn't require it.
Any employee that comes in our school has a background check. We do not, per policy, drug test employees. The only school employees that are drug tested are transportation employees.
It says a student will be responsible to provide the results of the investigation and the results of the drug testing to your agency.
Right, we'll do a background check.
Any other questions? I'm going to back up for just a second, and under discussion items F, Josie Groves was unable to be here tonight, so we tabled that. And I just kind of forgot to tell you. We need to table that. That was a good catch, Mr. Green, sorry. All right, action item F, approval to put out for countywide access control system.
That's Chris. That's what we had talked about before, and easy access for the teachers and staff members to come into our schools with electronic locking system.
Yeah, so even, I was trying to think of what school called me the other day, I forget. You know, a teacher didn't return their keys. The teacher lost their keys. Apologize. So that includes a key inside the building, a key inside from the playground. So I say that to say that for the reason that we've got the access controls at like Old Main Gym, it costs us $500 to rekey something every time. We lose keys, we lose security to our building. But so in the beginning, it's been a while. I've looked at several companies because all of our exterior doors are pretty much key doors. And so when we go into lockdown or we go into whatever, the police department, nobody has access to gain entry to the building where they need it without a key. You have to have a physical key. So for school safety reasons and convenience as well, because trying to collect keys from 500 employees can be very difficult, but that's not just it. We welcome the public to use our schools. So when COVID happened at Old Main Gym, we was able to go in there with one click. Everybody lost access to our schools. We didn't have to go chase keys down, didn't have to get it back. And I say that to say this, I was going to see if you wanted me to put it out for bid. I had 2 companies to quote for every exterior door in the county to have either app entry, and I say app entry, that means either use their smartphone, we can assign key fobs, or we can put keypads on there for them to do that. And also with this, we can lock down all the exterior doors, but I can unlock any door remotely. If there's a school shooting, if there's an intruder, and the police say, hey, I'm at G38, or not a entry 38 at Richwood High School, all I gotta do is go click that and they got entry to that hallway or that door. But it comes at a cost. The estimates that I got to do the whole county, now this is maglocks, and we're looking at 200 doors with maglocks and about 90 doors with just monitors, because if somebody props open a door with these systems as well, it'll text the principal or whoever we want and say, hey, you have a door that's been open longer than a minute or whatever. Because we do have an issue, every school has an issue with, and I think Dr. Heatrick's cracked down on it. It's helped a lot, but we still go to schools and somebody's propped the door open to run out. You know, so if that happens, we're going to get a text, and then we can look at the cameras and see who's doing it. But I think your price tag would come in, and this is without bid. I asked these companies to give me rough estimates because it's not fair for them to give me a quote, because it's going to have to go out for bid no matter what. For both systems, to do the whole county, I'm guessing it's going to take about $650,000. That's just a guess. So I didn't want to put something out for bid if that wasn't going to be entertained by the board, waste anybody's time. So I was asking if that's something you wish to pursue. Again, that is every exterior door in the county at every school. So, and you also have, if you want to take that venture, you can also not accept a bid. I mean, it's not binding you to anything, but I didn't want to waste my time or any campus because it's a rather extensive bid. I mean, we're going to have to do a site visit at every school and let them look and see what's there for them to be able to put an accurate number in.
We have to decide which would be the most convenient way to put it on a phone app or a key fob or.
We can decide that afterward.
Yeah.
The system also allows for mobile entry. Like right now, the AI phone systems we have is just a little screen on the wall, and maybe 2 people can let people in. But what this allows is you put this app on an iPad, and they can carry it with them. And when it rings into the iPad, and they can let them in. That would help a lot, especially at small grade schools. I think after this year, they might go back to halftime secretary or whatever. The principal can have that with them, and they can be anywhere in the school and see somebody outside. So that would help for convenience. I know here it's hard to tell who's going to be where, who's working, who's not. So it's really hard to have the door secured because you have different people not here. So
how long are those good for? Do they wear out or? signals fade, or?
I didn't check on a warranty, but I know we've had our VizPin system in for probably 4 or 5 years.
It's the old
We have 3 VizPin systems at the moment. One's at Old Main, actually there's 2 at Old Main, the upper door to lower door. One is the front door on Panther Creek, and the other is the field house at Richwood. That has a VizPin system. And another reason that I want to ask is because there's some other locations we need it. If you guys don't wish to pursue the whole county, then I need to get some other locations going and started in different places. Nicholas County High School needs one on the outside. Richwood High School needs one coming into it. Just whatever places have, especially a lot of public access, because it's too easy for them to get online, install an app, and say, I request access. Then at that moment, you can, Ms. Thomas, I showed her how to do it not long ago. You can give each person a schedule and say, hey, you can only open this door for basketball practice from 5 to 7 on Monday night.
Mm-hmm.
It's that granular. And then you can also see who comes and goes. I mean, who comes, but not, when they leave, you can't tell when they leave. You can tell when a door opens and closes, so we can tell when somebody leaves, but they're not gonna have to use credentials to leave, is what I'm saying, so.
So now this, the one that would go on every door, would it be that technical? Would it tell you exactly who went in that door?
Absolutely. And I like the phone app, which could be put on an iPad, because it's too easy for somebody to reach in their pocket and say, yeah, you can get in there. I don't need these keys. How many people's willing to give up their cell phone so somebody can go get in a gymnasium? You know, I think it does provide an element of security. And like I said, when somebody leaves, you just log in there and you say, this person denied access. There are some yearly associated costs, and each company's different, and I think that would be, I couldn't even guess at what they would be. For the whole county access, I would guess maybe $15,000 to $20,000 is my guess, because that is a cloud-based system. But we're quite antiquated and.
Donna, is any of the COVID money be used for that?
I don't know what's left, you'd have to talk to the doctor.
The COVID money is all budgeted, and we had to present the plan to the State Department of Ed. They had to approve it, they had to actually go back, make revisions. We had to make some revisions because we tried to get approval to put some new roofs on, to add a room on, and they didn't approve that. It had to be things like HVAC, things that would be space. So we can move, I think, 10%, you know, we can petition to move 10% of the money. But you have.
I know we approved some lighting stuff.
Yeah, we had some lighting, so there was different things, but it's all been budgeted. So we have a lot of the money, but it's budgeted and will be on track to be spent.
Chris, you mentioned the VizPin at Old Main, not this Old Main.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, the gymnasium.
Oh, the gymnasium.
Yeah, the
not
gymnasium.
building,
So,
yeah.
and that's the good part, is you can use these systems in places without internet, because it uses the app on your phone to date and time stamp everything when it comes in. It's a Bluetooth entry is essentially what it is.
Where can we see how the COVID money is budgeted?
We can give you a list. It was online for a long time on our site. So we can give you a list.
The light one?
Could you, I mean, just like Nicholas County High School, the vocation, I mean, well, not do the whole game, like the pods.
Sure.
You know, that's,
Sure.
you're gonna be tearing them out in a few years, hopefully.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we can pick and choose.
When you counted those doors, you counted
We
pods?
counted
I
every one of
counted
those.
every door in the county.
I mean, they're not saved anyways, but, you know.
Yeah, but I didn't feel, I wanted to, so my idea when I come and give you a price is I wanted to give you the highest price that I thought it would be, and if a bid come in lower, I mean, I can't guarantee it, because I said, hey, you guys give me, what I would like to see is ceiling prices, so that my board won't be underestimated when we do this, and I just didn't want to come in here and say, yeah, we can do it for $200,000, and then the bids really come in at $650,000. You know, I think that it's going to be in the $600,000 to 650 range, give or take. I mean, and like I said, it just depends on a lot of where are our doors, where's the power associated, how many doors need mag locks, can we use mag locks on these doors? I mean, there's a lot of variables, and that's why I didn't want to do a full walkthrough, because I'm gonna have to walk through, it'll probably take me 2 days to do a pre-bid.
Yeah, he started on this when initially, one of the board members mentioned, people propping the door open,
Yeah.
having a hard time getting the key in, it's inconvenient. So Chris actually started working on this plan at that time.
And what I found out is most door entry systems are not, they don't include, the entry camera was the hard part, the speakerphone. I only found 2 companies and I've talked to and been through demo after demo, and it's been a lot of conversations, but I feel it's important that we have the ability to have the app on an iPad for somebody to move around and allow people in and out of the front door of the school, or wherever it's at.
Well, you probably have the blueprints now with the new schools, the doorways.
So the new schools are already, the blueprints are already wired up for this. The new schools, this is going to be in those, no matter, I mean, it's coming out of that, it's already in the plans. All those are already there, but we need to get our other, I mean, in some schools, you don't even have that many doors. If you look at Mount Nebo Elementary, you've got 2, 4, 5, 7, like 7 doors, you know, but then you have some schools, you know, Summersville Middle School right now, you know, they've got a lot of exterior doors, you know. Cherry River's got a lot of exterior doors. Every classroom there has exterior doors. So, and so that's your all's pleasure. Do you, I mean, it's already in the Cherry River plans to do all those, so we would leave that one out.
I just think, so you didn't count Cherry Rivers?
I did, but then that would just lower the price when I take those out. I counted every exterior door in the county.
I just think that if it's like $500,000, that we're gonna need that money down the road.
And that's why I came to you, because I didn't want to waste my time or a bunch of vendors' time.
I'm not saying it's not a good thing, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, and that's why I came and asked you guys. I didn't want to waste my time or a bunch of vendors' time going around the schools if you was not interested.
Well, and you know, I'd rather tell you up front
Yeah.
than,
School security is always a huge topic.
I agree.
And that's one of the, and that was a suggestion that we got from other folks, was to have entry at different locations because of the ability to do lockdowns, but let emergency personnel inside at the same time as having a lockdown.
Have we put one time it was suggested we put the numbers of classrooms on the outside window. Have we done that? Well, I think the sheriff's department recommended that we put the numbers of the classrooms.
I thought they changed that recommendation, right?
So the sheriff's department actually tells us don't do that.
Yes.
Their safety, don't do that, because then they'll have it mapped out or whatever. But then later on, after the sheriff's department told us not to do that.
Why?
Because then people could map the school out, and
If they didn't
because,
know.
yeah, if they didn't have a floor plan, then you can look on a window and say, this is this classroom, and they would know where it was at. So it was a safety recommendation from the sheriff's department to not do that. But most of our schools actually have that, and I've struggled, I haven't found it in code, but some people say it's in code that we're supposed to have it. I haven't found it. I've looked. But then I got a questionnaire like 2 or 3 weeks ago that asked if we had that. There was one going around that was asking about money. The county needs, I think I spoke to you about that one. So the county needs, it asked for how much we thought we would need to do those things. And I did put in that we needed door entry systems. So I've been trying to get external funding to get these entry systems. So no, every school does not have a numbering system on the windows and doors. I think there's only about 3 that does not.
Well, if and when we get these buildings built, new buildings, that's gonna cut out half of those locks.
So we can rethink it.
Right, then we could look back and
Right.
finish the rest, or do the rest.
You still need a few though, for Nicholas County High School.
Yeah, sure. So, and that, like I said, that's why I want to know, do you want to do the whole county, or do you want to look at me and say, hey, bid out and get me a price on everything except for Summersville Middle School, Richwood High School, Cherry River. Is that something you want to see a price on? I don't know. But one way or another, I'm going to be putting some of them on some doors. Because what happens a lot of times, you've been a teacher for a long time, when you go to the playground, what happens if you forget your key when they're on recess, or if the lock's hard to use? And that's what we run into sometimes.
We had one lock.
If a lock's hard to use, you know what teachers do? They prop the door open.
Well, what happens at Panther Creek is the gravel from the playground gets in between the door and the door closing. And it keeps it from, and it's not intentionally, it just
happens, right?
It just happens. And then you have to slam the door to get it shut. And then when you do that, somebody else comes along with their key to try to
It's got pressure on
open
the
it.
lock.
It's got pressure, so if they don't push in on the door, you know, and some of them aren't big enough to push in on the door.
Sure.
So
But that might be a problem, even if you did have the new lock, if that happened.
Right,
Still have that.
But then you're going to get a warning saying, hey, your door's open.
Oh, you got a warning.
Yeah, you'll get the administrators of that facility will get a text message and an email saying, this door's been open longer than 3 minutes.
So when you say every door, there's some doors, like on the back of Panther Creek, there's a storage place. You wouldn't need one there.
And if you guys tell me just do playground doors or whatever, not classroom doors, you know, there's a lot of options here. If you just want high traffic doors, that's an option as well. But my count was every door, every exterior door on every school. So your maximum price is going to be in the neighborhood.
Oh, you priced the interior?
Nope, just exterior doors.
Exterior.
Just all, okay.
So I agree with you, there's also a storage area on the outside of Nicholas County High School that all it's got in its chairs. You know, you can't get in the school from that place. In my opinion, we wouldn't need those, but I was asked to do every door, and that's what I did. Like I said, we can scale it down to whatever you guys want.
I think I would agree with the President there that, you know, we have a situation of 6 schools are going to be affected by construction here, and actually 7, well, with including the retrofitting Nicholas County High School. That's half our schools. I say we give this a little rest until we can see where we're actually going to be. I mean, it's working. I mean, the only, okay, this all came about because of the fact of the incidents that happened in some schools where people got in the building, and we found out that our schools were not secure, and we told the principal, you're responsible for making sure that those doors are not left open, and whatever routine you have to put in place to check on it, that's your job, because you need to make the school safe.
Another part of it is a request from the principals, because since Dr. Teacher has become superintendent, she's made our schools more available to the public. So since the schools are being more available to the public, getting keys to individuals and getting them returned is cumbersome. So, like I said, we're going to do some doors one way or another. I just want to know if you want to piecemeal it together or if you want it all done at the same time. But it's, you know, the gymnasiums and the high traffic areas is cumbersome for, because I think Panther Creek has 2 basketball teams, and it's hard to tell who all uses their gymnasium.
About 4 basketball teams. I have strollers, and I have another person using it on Sunday.
And if I looked at your VizPen, I bet there's 20 or 30 keys out there, digital keys.
There are. It would be nice for Panther Creek to have one on the front door, the back door, and one playground door.
So when you start doing 3 on one school, and we can do that. If we want to do the high traffic areas and ask principals what their pleasure is, we can do that and add more later if that's what you wish.
I just don't want you to waste your time and then I say.
No, right, and that's why I'm here. I mean, I'm honestly, it's more work for me. I'm not advocating for or against. I'm giving you the pros and cons, and you guys tell me what to do.
And I'm not saying it's not a good thing, I'm just, you know, the funds.
Understand.
Kevin would be proud. So we'll still, it'll still be an action item, so I guess we'll let you know here shortly.
Okay.
Especially for the schools that actually need it, you know, not so much the new ones, you know, Richwood High School, middle school.
Yeah, I don't think we would want to do the pods right now.
Okay, that's fine. Like I said, if you guys want to make suggestions of either high-traffic areas or just the schools that don't have them, or, then we can get you another quote and come back with a different number. Just let me know what you want, but I know that's.
We'll vote on that separately.
You know, what if we could get an idea of how many high-traffic areas you're actually talking about in the county? An actual count?
Yeah, is there any way you can bring that back to us?
I can, and if it's up to you guys, I'll leave that to the principal's discretion, and they can tell me who uses what doors in their schools, because I have no idea.
Because I know you said the back door at Panther Creek,
Yes,
and so you got the Head Start coming in and out there,
yes.
which is probably
I want it on that door.
right.
I want like another one on the front door so that way the breezeway will be enclosed. My parents can't breach that area. There's 2 sets of doors. I want one on the second set of doors.
She wants to make a man trap, which is what our ultimate goal is, I think, at all schools. Or a woman trap.
They need a playground.
So, yeah.
I had to give him the look
Why
on
don't you,
that one.
why don't we, let's table that, and you bring us back
Okay,
high traffic,
okay,
and then we'll consider.
all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.
As if you didn't have enough contentious stuff to talk about this evening.
Approval of following policies effective December 2022. I'm just going to let you go through those.
Sure. So the first thing that you have up, I bring my agenda up here with me though, is, and what I want to talk about is the survey that we did on the hats and other headgear in schools. Put this out, we had 572 people complete the survey, which by the way, all of those results have dumped into a spreadsheet, which I have uploaded in your board packet, so you can look at those if you like. So we had 572 people complete the survey.
Okay,
200
I want to interrupt you just for a
Sure.
second, sorry. But there were more people that actually completed this survey than the 572.
That is correct.
But
And-
tell them,
Sure, thank you. So what we did is we asked people to input their employee ID number or their student ID number or the student ID number of their student so that we had some way to gauge to make sure we didn't have people double voting and that people who were voting who were, had a stake in this. So we had, what I went through and I tried to, and it's probably not perfect, but I tried to, kind of police the numbers as best I could. We had several 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 listed there for student ID numbers. When parents were voting, well, obviously that's not a student ID number. We had some zip codes, we had some 001, even a couple of phone numbers, and I think maybe even a social security number or two, or just some names. And so those I deleted out. And I have no idea how those people voted. I just went through the list and I took those out. So of the votes that we counted, there were 572. 210 of them were students, 132 were parents or guardians, and 230 were staff members. Overall, the results of the survey were, pretty compelling. 65% felt that hats should be allowed. 65% felt that sunglasses should not be allowed, and kind of an almost even split on the bandanas, with about 55% feeling that they should be allowed. So now I'm going to break that down to you by subgroups for students. No surprise here, 93% of them felt that hats should be allowed. Only 31% felt that sunglasses should not be allowed, and 80% felt that bandanas should be allowed. For staff, 43% felt hats should be allowed,
91% felt sunglasses should not be allowed, and 32% felt bandanas should be allowed. Parents or guardians, 61% felt that hats should be allowed, 74% felt that sunglasses should not be allowed, and 53% felt that bandanas should be allowed. So what we did is we looked at these results, and when we were looking through the comments, teachers were concerned about people being able to see and being able to see people's faces, which I think is legitimate. So what you have also in your packet that I uploaded this afternoon is kind of the amended guidelines. When I was here the last time, I presented you with 2 options. And so if you look at it, the changes that I have there are in red under number 5. And I'll read the whole number 5 out loud. It says, no sunglasses or bandanas worn or displayed at school other than with order from a medical doctor or during principal-approved Spirit Week or other similar type celebrations. Hats may be worn to school. However, students will remove hats while reciting the Pledge of Allegiance, standing for the national anthem, and during other solemn moments in which it is customary to remove head coverings. In addition, teachers who feel that hats are creating a visual disturbance that impairs their ability to monitor student engagement may ask students to remove hats during class time. Hoods and hoodies are not considered hats and shall not be worn indoors. So we felt like that kind of addressed everyone's concerns. And so we would ask for your approval of that. If you have any specific questions about that one before I move to the rest of them, I'll be happy to.
Okay, the part about the hoodies, it's the hood can't be worn.
Correct.
The body of
Yes.
the outfit can be worn.
Yes.
But for example, I was visiting a school and I saw a kid and I couldn't identify him because he had everything tied down so tight, and all you could see was this little part of his face. And so, in this day and time, in my personal opinion, when you have kids, people entering the building in mass numbers in the morning, you've got to be able to see who these people are and identify, because anybody can walk through the door, and we certainly can't have that. But I just wanted you to qualify on that they could wear the hoodie,
right,
and then when they go home, they
right,
back up. So.
Right.
Felt like this was a good compromise for everyone. That way teachers, if they want the hats off in class, they can certainly have the student remove it in class.
And if we approve this and it becomes a problem, we can change it.
That's correct. The test here is a substantial disruption to the learning process. So if you've got kids who are throwing a hat all over a room, that's obviously a substantial disruption, and the teacher's got every right to say, give me the hat, or the book, or whatever else they're doing.
Or if a teacher says that they prefer them not to be worn in their class, and they
Yes.
tell them to take them off,
Yes.
and they don't,
Yes.
then that's a problem.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm glad we put in there, remove hats reciting the pledge and the national anthem. Very important.
Yes. I agree 100%. My computer went to sleep. Okay. So the rest of your policies there, these were policies that were on comment. We received no comments for those, and I'll just entertain specific questions. If you have them, I would like to point out, I know through here there'll be like several policies on weapons or self-harm. And this is just the way Neola sets it up. They put the policy in several places, so they have a weapons policy for students, they have a weapons policy for the public, they have a weapons policy for service personnel, they have a weapons policy for professional personnel. And that's just the way they lay out their policies, so that's why that you see several of the same policies. It seems a little redundant, but if we're going to use the Neola format and template, I think it's best to kind of keep with their organization, so that's why.
I noticed there are several self-harm and eating disorder policies on here in regard to training or or how it's implemented or whatever. Is that something new is that a new?
Yes, that was a law that was passed, I believe it's called Megan's Law, and that does require, that's a requirement for county boards now to see that kind of training is put into place.
Well, that's been a law for a while.
Yeah.
And so we used to have to do that on, what do you call them? Well, we'd get on and do our little,
The safe schools? Yeah. There's several things that are required. I was thinking Megan's Law was the new one. There was another one that's new, but I was thinking it was Megan's Law, but maybe it's another one. And then on H, you've got policies to place on 20-day comment. I believe this will finish us up with the policy update, the latest policy update from Neola. So if you have any questions about those, I'll entertain those as well.
any questions or comments? Okay, so we're going to table F. Is there anything that y'all want to vote on separately? So do I have a motion to approve action items D, E, G, 1 through 20? Action item H, approval to place the policies on 20-day comment, that's 1 through 9.
So moved, Mr. President.
I have a motion by Dr. Penix. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Green. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Moving along to consent items, finance. Mr. Hess.
All right, first thing on the finance agenda is payment of current invoices. Do you have any questions? We had some transfers and supplements. Item B, fresh fruits and vegetables, $63,900. Next one was grow your own, that's tuition, $925. Followed by Save the Children. And looks like $22,360 at Valley River, $87,000 at Somersville Elementary, and then $134,781 at Cherry River. Then we had some transfers on the ACE grant. And we got a grant for the mobile unit, $100,000 from Save the Children, followed by Nichols County Community Foundation grant, $2,460 for Somersville Elementary. Then a Country Roads coding grant of $4,000. Those are your transfers and supplements. Treasurer's report for November. On the general fund, our total budget is $59,416,724.06. So far, year-to-date, we've received 15.96%, which is 25.91% overall, but within our operating revenues is 40.05% of expected revenues.
Is that the monthly financial report you're working on?
Yes, for November.
That FEMA balance,
FEMA
does it
balance?
include the encumbrance, the current one on the new?
It does not, because I'm waiting on W-9. So once I get that W-9, we'll enter the $12 million or $42 million encumbrance. Yeah, I'd requested W-9 from the vendor, and I haven't received it yet.
That'll put us down below 100 million.
42 will bring us down, let me find that.
Budget balance is 140,537,989.
Yes, approximately $98 million.
Yeah, okay. Will that be on there next time? Or?
It should be. That request was a couple weeks ago. I want to get it on there as soon as possible. Capital projects on the revenue side, you can see $157 million was our budget. We've received $4.5 million, so $152 million yet to receive, of which some of that's in the process of being received as we speak. And at the bottom of that page, you can see our current balances. Run through that real quick. Fund 11 is your general fund, if you look in the left-hand column, and here's your balance there. Fund 51 is our capital projects fund, which gives you the balance we have currently there. Fund 61 is our federal and state grants, and then Fund 71 is our federal stimulus money, and you can see the balance there. That's in a negative right now because we have receivables on that money. We spend it first and then request it.
Back to Fund 51, would you explain capital projects and what that includes?
The Capital Projects Fund is a fund that is separate from any other fund. It's for capital projects that have a value of more than $500,000. And so right now we only have one project, which is our school construction projects. And we have a budget carried forward from the previous year. As you know, it started at $177 million, and we've expended some of those funds over the years, so now we're down to a current budget for this year of $157,366,979.42.
I asked you to go back to page 1 on the budget. It looks like we seriously under budgeted the interest on bank accounts. And we're thankful for that excess revenue that's coming in
Yes.
there. But is that a result of the Fed raising interest rates?
Yes, it would have something to, yes. Even though our rates have not gone up, our rates have gone up some, but not all that much really. I decreased that just simply because our interest was very poor last year, and obviously we're doing much better than we expected, so that'll, by the end of the year, that'll be a plus for us.
So do you know what that interest rate is? I mean, what they're paying?
What the Fed rate is or what I'm paying?
What we're being paid right now?
Don't quote me, but I think it's less, 1.43 or less than 1.5.
So is it?
That's on checking. Now, I have some other, our savings and CDs I'm doing a little bit better on.
I was gonna say, that's what I was getting ready to ask you. I know, I was looking at a CD the other day and it was paying like 4%.
Yeah, if you look down at our balances, most of our money is invested in a CD with one of the local banks. So we're doing much better. And our general fund, they pay a certain percentage over the Fed rate on a daily basis. So that helps us stay current.
In regard to that, when is our CDs, are they 1 year,
They're staggered.
staggered?
Mhm.
So you might have some for longer than a year.
Sure. No, yes, I think the longest go out to 24 months.
But you have them staggered so that if we need the money, they, okay.
And they're better than, you say, maybe, are they 1% maybe?
Oh, no, they should be in a 2.5 or better last time I looked at them. So the rates have gone up, so we can probably shop those again.
Well, the Fed's supposed to keep raising the rate over the next few months, so.
Yeah.
Kevin, on your monthly report, I'm running behind, I guess. Building improvements, we have almost $4 million, 5% has been used. Then we have the contingency fund with over 13 million in it, 0% has been used. What can that be used for?
Those funds are from your financial statements, those are your unassigned funds. From that, you can, we use part of that to balance this budget in the spring. You'll remember we'll borrow $1 million or $1.2 million. That will come out of that fund, that line. The state recommends a 2-month contingency, so which for us, they used to recommend 3 to 5% contingency, but now they're saying 2 months of expenses, which is about 16%. So our true contingency has to come out of that $13 million. And then as we go to use, as I go to work on next year's budget, we'll need to borrow from that a little bit to get that budget balanced.
A little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it typically is about $1 million to balance the spring budget. And then when we finish our financial statements, if we come out in the plus, then that money goes back into that account.
If we build Shared River, and then we decide that it would be improved if we added 2 classrooms, could we use the building improvement fund or the contingency fund?
We could if we still have it.
True.
Well, we surely have it. I mean, you only take $1 million or so out, you're gonna have $11 million.
But, Mr. Moose, whatever we're short on these 2 buildings, they're gonna make us spend out of our account. That account's gonna be pretty well drained. It's gonna be gone.
And we have to have some contingency there left too, in that account.
Well, that won't touch it.
No, but before they give us any extra money, everybody I've talked to, before they give us any extra money, they're gonna expect us to spend their own.
That's right. We better tell them to keep it private, because they certainly don't do that if you talk to them.
But
you don't want everybody in the country to know what you talked about. So $17 million in building improvements and contingency. Okay, thank you, Kevin.
So, Kevin, sometimes in that building improvements, sometimes we have some of that left, correct? I mean, it doesn't always get spent to the penny, right?
No, right. Sometimes, like any of our budgetary items, it's just an estimate. Sometimes we overspend, sometimes we have money's left over.
And that's when you transfer it.
Right. When you see me do transfers, that's like I'm monitoring maintenance, for example. If they get over budget, I'll transfer monies around to make that balance by the end of the year. So in the end, at the end of the year, if we have any money left over, it'll go into that contingency line. And then if we're short, then we have to take more money out of that contingency line to balance that year. Fortunately, we've been doing well for the last several years and been able to put money back into that. And so that contingency has grown little by little over the years.
I guess we can't borrow from that and pay it back, and
I know.
Let's see here.
I know.
Where did we get down to?
Contracts.
So,
Contracts.
we're done with contracts? Okay. Any other questions on the treasurer's report? The one contract that we have is with the change order with B&H. And we talked about that a few times earlier in the meeting. And essentially it was due to the reduction of the size of the building. They had to extend drain lines and change some areas on the pad. And that change order is at a cost of $450,898.32. And if you'll look on the first page of the change order, it gives you a paragraph there, a better description of what exactly it's for. Item 5 is bids, and we had tabled this from the previous meeting. And that's for the fence for the Richwood High School team field. We put that out for bid a couple times, and we're tabled to inquire about the use of those funds and what the possibility of using those funds for other projects. And so we're back to asking the board to approve this to build a fence. It'll come out of the levy facility monies, $98,800.
So I'm gonna put you on the spot, okay? But it's my understanding that the levy call, everything was, divvied out, and we cannot take that money to put towards making the gym in Richwood bigger.
And that's why it was tabled at the last question, to
Right.
see if that was a possibility.
But I want the public to hear that, so.
Yes, it's my understanding as well, as those funds come in to our general fund, they become properties of the board. They're used for a specific purpose, and if we use those for even within the guidelines of what they were called for in the excess levy, those are still considered local county funds, as if they were out of contingency or out of a special levy line. So with that being said, we'd ask the board to approve this for the fence at the Dean Field. And then finally, we have some surplus property. We're actually going to have another auction we're hoping for January. And it's still very possible that we can do that. But we have some surplus vehicles here. And some miscellaneous surplus property at Panther Creek. And I have something to bring at our next meeting as well. And that will conclude the finance agenda.
Any questions for Mr. Hess? Do I have a motion to accept consent items A, 1, payment of current invoices, 2, supplements and transfers, 3, the treasurer's report for November, contracts for ZMM change order number 3, the bids, number 5A, Richwood Dean Field Fence, Jacqueline Construction, and number 6, surplus property.
Make that motion.
Mr. Berry makes a motion.
What motion? Are we going to take that bid on the field fence? I thought we were going to take it back. We tabled it once, so we're going to.
Well, we tabled it so we could see if we could use it towards the gym, and we can't. So if we don't go ahead and spend it, then it's going to be spent later. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So to keep the money going to Richwood, I think we should accept it, but if you want to bid on it, or vote on it separate, we can. Okay, so Mr. Berry made a motion,
I'll second.
second by Dr. Penix. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carried. And that brings us to personnel.
We need a short recess, or not recess, but I can't even think.
Executive session.
Okay,
Thank you.
so do we have a motion for executive session?
I'll make a motion. I'll second.
Okay. Mr. Green made the motion, seconded by Dr. Penix. All in favor? Aye. At 9:02. Do I have a motion to come out of the executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion to come out of executive session by Dr. Penix, second by Mr. Berry. All in favor? Aye. There were no decisions made, and that's at 9:12.
So you have before you the updated personnel. It's actually in your, I'm sorry, it's in your board packet. I uploaded it to your board packet. My apologies. I meant to tell you that.
Do you want me to go get him a hard copy?
It's in the board packet.
You got it? Okay.
Hang on 1 second.
Yeah. Yeah, if you filter by newer to older, it'll pop up there. Yeah. So the changes are in red. I will read them aloud for members of the public. An updated copy was provided to the public. Under, is everybody there? Yeah. I thought when I was getting ready to print off a bunch of paper, why am I doing this?
That way you don't have to shred a bunch of stuff.
Right.
Oh, okay. She's got two in there.
This is Brett.
It's okay.
Is it coming up for you?
And it should have things in yellow.
Yeah.
No, the only time I do things in yellow is if we amend the agenda. So
we
if we
have-
amend
We
the
have stuff
agenda.
in yellow, so that's
Yeah,
not
it's
it.
got that yellow stuff.
Well, it's got that yellow stuff there for, just to let you know that we'd be adding names
But we
tonight.
have the right one.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, all right, that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
yeah.
If you have something in red.
If you have something in red, do you have anything on there in
Red
red?
and, yes, we got it.
Red and
Yes.
yellow.
Yes,
Yes.
that's it.
Well, the yellow was there when the agenda went out, so. Under professional, we removed Cynthia Stump. She withdrew her name from consideration for the English teacher at Richwood High School. I will be reposting that. Added 2 names for substitute teacher, Alyssa Woods and Samuel Stewart. Under consent items, added 3 names for volunteers for Nicholas County Schools. That's Brandy Lowe, Crystal Barnett, and Stephanie Sadler. And also I added a name for a clinical field experience placement for a Concord University student. That's Hunter Schaefer. And on page 3,
Just a second. I noticed here in the regular agenda, Shane Frame resigns his position as basketball coach at Richwood Middle School. Is he the head coach? I mean, do we have somebody ready?
he was the head coach. The assistant coach has been filling the void there. So and
Season's here.
right, and I will post that tomorrow. On page 2 there, you have some resignations. Jeffrey Campbell resigns his position as custodian at Nicholas County High School effective January 31st, 2023 due to retirement. Rachel Ford resigns her position as teacher at the Nicholas County Learning Center effective January 16th, 2023. Patricia McKinney resigns her position as a volleyball coach at Nicholas County High School effective November 10th, 2022. And then on page 3, you have some leave requests, some employee leave requests. I will not read those aloud to protect the privacy of our employees.
I was just reminding our president that when he was the union rep, that he's the one that brought that to our attention and got
He
that
was.
approved.
Absolutely. It was the right thing to do.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, do I have a motion to accept the personnel agenda as presented?
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Green made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Dr. Phoenix seconds. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? And so that brings us to superintendent's information.
I think that everything was covered earlier, I mean, with the construction, we had the being in here.
Does anybody have any questions on the construction update or anything? All right, let's move to reports. A, SESC, Dr. Pennings.
Mr. President, the SESC doesn't meet until this Wednesday, and we're actually meeting here in Nicholas County. The 12 counties in this region will be meeting here on Wednesday morning. They're not 12 county boards of education, they're
just 12 people.
Probably more like 6. We do it telephonically.
I got you.
But we will be meeting here Wednesday.
Okay, so you'll report back in January on that.
I will.
All right, reports B, Bright Horizons, Mr. Green.
We met this week, and we're doing very well, and they might want to come in and bring it, they want kids to come into the facility again. We haven't been on it for the last couple of years, I don't think, but they'd like to present a program to us, and as long as we can provide the transportation, they'd be tickled death to get a couple of kids from our schools. So, if he wants to come in and speak in front of the board, I can send him a message.
Put him on
the agenda for first meeting in January. Michael Gray.
Is that the 2nd of January?
No.
Might be a
No,
prompt.
it's the 3rd.
What, is it the 3rd?
It's the 3rd, yeah, yes.
So,
Well, we can
do that.
We can plan on it, and if it's not good, then we'll move it short.
And what was the gentleman's name?
Michael Gray.
Michael Gray.
But they're doing a great job, and a lot of good programs.
Okay, do we have any delegations?
No, sir.
They all done.
He froze out and went off.
Item 12, items for future agendas.
Action item, Dinsmore and Shoal.
Action item for Dinsmore and Shoal. Okay, for,
To have them represent us. So that we can,
well,
he said that we needed to put that into an action item if we're going to contact them.
well, that's it on a certain item, is it not?
I've used them before, I mean.
I think he said the superintendent could call him, and we've used them before, haven't we?
Yes, I have.
I mean, is there
Like I said,
something that you're wanting to use them for? I mean, right now?
Well, I have some questions I'd like to run by him, yeah.
Well, that comes through,
But I can't because you're the only one that can contact.
For the board
that's
president.
right, the board president.
I can contact them.
Yeah.
And,
I know that's what I mean.
and I can always, I'm assuming it's okay if I contact them with him present, right?
With what?
With Mr. Moose present, if he,
I wouldn't see how that would be incorrect or wrong.
I mean, it's just the two of us,
Yeah.
so we can do that.
Is your motion going to make them our official counsel? Because we use multiple legal firms. I mean, we have Steptoe & Johnson involved in one thing. We have, occasionally we don't use Bowles and Rice as much as we have in the past. We have legal counsel in-house. I don't know that we named any one of those as a,
I know what you mean, he said we'd have to vote, but that's like, let's say, we were going to do a contract with somebody and we wanted them to draw the contract, then we would have to vote to get them to do it, correct? I'm asking Dr. Pennies because he's been in this position.
I would see that's how we would normally do that, yes.
Okay.
But if you have questions and you want me to call them and we get together, then we can do that.
Okay.
Do we have to have like would they need to call Sherry to get like a requisition?
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to pay, it's $300 an hour, so we'll have to get
So you kinda- I don't know,
invoice,
you
they'll
might
have
wanna
to
talk to
invoice
Kevin
it.
before you
So,
make your call.
Okay, we'll
just
check
think
it out.
we can get
We'll check it out.
information, because I've used them before.
Yeah, if
So it
we use
wasn't
them
an
before,
issue.
they'll already have a vendor. and
That's
Is
fine.
that 300 an hour or 300 minimum?
300 an hour.
300 hours, what I heard.
But do they split an hour though if you talk to them 15
No,
minutes?
if you talk, well, yeah, you actually
prorate.
bill,
It's-
most law firms bill on 6-minute increments.
How many, 6?
6.
So talk real fast.
Talk real fast.
They'll slow down on the answer though.
That's what I.
Okay. So items for future agendas. We will have a special meeting next Thursday at 9 o'clock. And the item on there for
You reconvene.
You're
well,
reading.
yeah, but we're gonna have, we have one item to put on this special meeting. And that is the alternate 2 at Richwood High School.
What time are you wanting the special meeting?
Well, here's what we normally say, is we will reconvene this meeting at 9 a.m.
Yeah.
and then adjourn that meeting and immediately call the next meeting to order.
Yes.
That's how we do that, sir.
Okay.
Oh, so we're not gonna close this meeting?
We're gonna leave this meeting open,
Okay, gotcha.
so that we can reconsider alternate 1. But alternate 2 was tabled, so alternate 2 needs to be on a separate agenda.
Gotcha.
Clear as mud.
Clear as mud.
Anything else for future agenda? And of course, Mr. Green said in January,
Right horizons.
Bright Horizons.
Right.
13 future meeting dates, of course, next Thursday at 9, after the reconvening of the meeting, 9, a little after 9. Regular meeting, Tuesday, January 3rd, 2023 at Nicholas County Board Office, start time is 6. Then LSIC meeting, Tuesday, January 10th at Summersville Middle School. And that starting time's at 5 o'clock. And then regular meeting Tuesday, January 17th at the Nicholas County Board Office, and that starting time's at 6 o'clock.
I think that LSIC meeting, that does conclude all schools, is that right, Kim?
I didn't bring my calendar.
That's our third one, isn't it?
No, I think we have,
Yeah,
we
that's
have
the
one in
third.
February, don't we? Because we didn't have one in
We had one
December.
at Cherry River.
We had one at Cherry River,
We had one at.
Richwood High School. This is our
Richwood High
first one, so
School.
this should count.
So this is it?
This is it.
For some reason.
Because two of them are 5 and one is 4. Next 14 schools, yeah.
Okay.
Is that a good thing, Dr. Penn?
Oh, it's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Okay,
Wonderful world.
any other comments? So instead of having a motion to adjourn, I need a motion to recess.
All you just say is I declare this meeting in recess.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm still new at this.
Yeah, I know.
So I declare this meeting in recess until Thursday morning, December 29th at 9 o'clock. Now, do we vote on that?
No.
Okay.
You're the president.